set your mind to doing or whatever you want to do, good things can happen. That shot gave me the idea that I can be better than what people think, and I can, surpass any expectations that I may have for myself. I haven't had any disappointments. I mean, sports is a tool that teaches. It teaches you bad things. It can also teach you good things. It's how you perceive those things. I've looked at every experience that I've had, negative and positive, and taken that as a positive. If I wouldn't change anything, because I think it would alter some of the other things that happened. Conversations about what your game is capable of achieving, and I'm a firm believer that if you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it. So I guess just trying to play down some of the trash talking, animosity that's between in words and the whole promotional thing. Let your game be your promotion, your marketing tool. And that was our old era. Now it's changed. So I'm trying to revert back to where your game do all your talking instead of what we may say and what someone else may say about your game. I just felt it was coming to an end, and I knew, and I'm the person to know. And once I know that, I try to give subtle hints, but no one really picked up on it, and I felt it was just time for me to do something else. And very few people get that opportunity to make that decision for themselves.
Welcome in, baby. Game 7. Let's go. Putting it out on Twitter. This is the place to be. My name is Mark Carmen. This is FanSided. We are watching the end of Boston and Miami right now. The Heat within 3, 101-98. Hello, Nick Hinkle. Good to see you again. Your second appearance on a FanSided live stream. This is a big night, baby.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. The two sweetest words in sports, Game 7, a game that, 3, 4, 5 days ago, we didn't think that we'd actually be watching. So really excited to catch the action with you guys here.
And Dylan Carter, one of the greatest names in the history of the NBA, with us as well tonight. Dylan, welcome to the live stream. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm ready for some Game 7 action.
Dylan, give us your NBA hoop credentials. Let's get the background here so fans can just feel connected to you.
Cool, yeah. So I'm the site expert at Air Alamo. I cover the San Antonio Spurs. I've been with FanSided for, I think this is my third year now. I started off as a contributor. I was actually covering ASU basketball back in 2017. I was at school. Then I decided I want to write about the Spurs. Kind of came up doing that. Now I'm the site expert there. I also write for Hoops Habit. And I did some in-person coverage of the Phoenix Suns earlier in the season before everything stopped.
Your favorite NBA player of all time is?
Tim Duncan. Easy.
Of course.
No question asked.
Homer.
Come on. It groomed me. It's like I grew up my entire life. Tim Duncan was right there getting buckets. So
if there was a draft right now and the two players eligible were Kobe and Duncan, who you drafting?
I'm taking Duncan. I love Kobe. Kobe has a special place in my heart. It's after Duncan.
Wow.
Well, I appreciate the loyalty. Nick, I see a look on your face that just you yearn to crush that Duncan take. I know you do.
Yeah, I get it, right? Like if it's a non-Spurs fan, I'm gonna really have something to say about it. But when you grow up,
right.
And Dylan, I'm assuming you've been able to witness, probably 3 of their championships, right, or 2 of their championships at least. So like you've been around like watching Tim Duncan your whole life. When I think of Tim Duncan, I think of like 2005 against the Pistons. And like, I don't care much for that. So because you're a Spurs fan, Dylan, I'll let it slide. It's okay.
Thank you. Listen, there's nothing to let slide. It's just facts. It's the truth.
I mean, like if you enjoy watching fundamentally sound basketball to a point where it's like not unwatchable, but it's just like, yeah, like a guy who's just going to give you everything. And it's just like, yeah, you know, I got all the love in the world for Tim Duncan. I wish he had the braids when he was playing because I really like that look that he's got going on right now. But yeah, is what it is.
I'll tell you what, the oversized jeans did not help his case for like being this marketable, swaggy player. But
dressing like a biology teacher, yeah.
What I always appreciated about Timmy was that he was always 100% authentically himself. He kept it real. He didn't try to be something outside of himself. He stuck to his wits and 5 chips, bunch of all-star teams, all defensive teams. So I know it's like a personal thing. You know, some people with Kobe, it's like they grew up with that. That's who inspired them. So I get it.
Just for the record, Jimmy Butler had to tie this game. He missed it. The Celtics missed a shot, got a rebound, and then in the lane was Kemba Walker putting it in for a 5-point lead, and Tyler Hero just banged a 3 with 1 minute to go, 105-103. Boston leading Miami. The Celtics have been in control pretty much all night here, but the Heat are making a valiant run here in the fourth quarter. So, hey, I mean, the Celtics obviously with a tougher series coming in here, but they made it through. I don't think that everyone's talking about the 7-game series, you know, that once you get out of it, it takes a toll on you. I'm thinking it might be less this year because first of all, you had the huge break in the regular season. There's less travel. I almost think for the Clippers tonight that they needed this series to go 7. They still haven't found their rhythm. I don't know if they're going to find it tonight, but I don't know if they were ready to play the Lakers after 5 games. Like I almost feel like it's almost good for them to figure something out. Does that make sense to either of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, but when you really kind of start to break it down, you look at game 5 when they blew, I think, an 18-point lead. Game 6, they blow a 19-point lead. I look at this Clippers team who we've sort of revered as one of, if not the best defensive team in basketball all season. And then similar to what happened to Milwaukee, they get into these crucial moments and their defensive identity isn't just lacking, it's completely gone. So I think from a morale standpoint, they've almost started to figure things out less. Like maybe they're just forgetting how to finish basketball games. Like that could be the case. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think it actually may hurt them in the long run because they can't figure out this Denver team when it matters the most.
So that was a crazy possession, by the way. I'm trying to recap it in my mind, but bottom line, Butler had a 3, passed it up, went in the lane. It nearly could have been a 3 seconds. All of a sudden, Dragic is driving to the hole, finds Butler back in the corner, fakes the 3, then steps back and takes it and hits it. Miami up 1 here. This would be a crushing loss for the Celtics. Yeah, absolute crusher. By the way, check out my podcast. Thank you for watching tonight. The Windy City. Shaquille O'Neal on the pod today. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, Shaq has Miami in the finals, and he's got Denver winning tonight.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, Shaq. That's gutsy.
I mean, that's why they call him the Diesel. He's not going to play it. He's not tiptoeing into the tulips here, if you will. I don't know. I mean, I'm picking the Clippers to win tonight, but that was Shaq. What do y'all think?
I definitely have the Clippers taking it tonight. I've witnessed too much of Kawhi's antics when they really need him to come down to it, and star power drives this league. That's why we've got some of these big faces in these important games. Of course, the scenario is different than it's ever been for him before. I think the fact that this team has no continuity, it's still their first year together, and they barely played that many games together as a full, healthy group, that's going to play a factor. Whereas this Denver team, for the most part, it's the same guys that were in last year that had a playoff run. But ultimately, I think there's an edge for the Clippers. They've got that competitive spirit and that drive that'll help them take the win.
Marcus Smart just got run over by Andre Iguodala. So I think Marcus Smart's going to get 2 free throws here with 22 seconds to go. That was awkward. I'll tell you, if the Clippers lose tonight, I'm going to be pissed. Like,
why is that?
Because I want to see Clippers LA. I want to see Kawhi and LeBron.
I figured it was a monetary thing. You had some a dangerous amount. You had the house on the Clippers.
I mean, who do you want to watch in the Western Conference House? Don't you want to see Clippers Lakers, or you don't care? You're such a hooper, Nick.
Of course.
I just want good basketball. That's really what it comes down to, right? And if the best team ends up being, because here's the thing, right now you're at a point in the playoffs where, you know, you can have the best player in a series, you can have the best duo in a series, or even the big three in some cases. Ultimately, what's going to start to matter is who has the best 8, who has the best 9. And right now, for the last 3 games, that's been Denver. So if they end up winning tonight, well, I guess we found out who the better team really was. I guess just from a marketing standpoint, yeah, of course, you prefer it to be LA and LA. That's like must-see box office TV. And I think some people are going to feel like, well, there's no need to watch Denver and the Lakers, because most people, I think, are going to feel like the Lakers are going to steamroll them. So I get what you're saying. But yeah, I just want
5 seconds here. Tatum for 3 and the win. Short. We're going to overtime. That is not what we needed for our live stream, for the record. But we are going to OT, Miami and Boston in game 1 of your Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Butler. That was really weird. I didn't exactly quite understand. It was an off-the-ball foul, so somehow Jason Tatum shot a free throw to tie it, and then Boston got it back, and then Tatum with a step-back 30-footer. It's such a bad shot. It's a bad shot. Go to the bucket or whatever. Give me a 17. I'm old school. I know everybody wants it. Everyone wants to see the Luka Doncic dance around, but it's just such a tough shot. And not that Tatum can't make it, but he didn't, so we're going to OT. At any rate.
There's something so flashy about taking that 3 that everyone wants that game-winning 3. Even though, I mean, he didn't need it. Like, take the better shot, the more efficient shot.
Who do you think is a tougher matchup for the Lakers, Celtics or Heat?
Dylan, you can go ahead and go first.
I'll tell you what, I don't think either of them are particularly good matchups. I think the Heat are probably a tougher team because they've got all these perimeter players. They've got the physicality. They can switch pretty much everything. I think Bam is going to have a really tough assignment, though. I mean, there's no answer for Anthony Davis. You know, Bam is having a great breakout year, but I don't think that he is ready to take that step. I don't think Tice is either. So either way, I think there's going to be a lot of points in the paint for the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's anybody who is equipped to deal with AD, I think in a way you would kind of look to Bam a little bit, right? Because of the way that he was able to handle Giannis, and you sort of put them in the same paradigm, at least in some sense, right? So it would be really interesting. And to your point, yeah, like I don't want Enes Kanter or Daniel Tice trying their best on Anthony Davis. So out of those 3, you know, I am going to go with Bam. But as far as who the tougher matchup is, I think, I don't know. Well, Mark, on our last stream, Nick Wright, he said that if it is Boston that ends up making it, he's excited because he thinks LeBron will finally be able to sweep somebody in the finals. And that would blow me away if that was a sweep, right? But I just feel, you know, if you look man to man down the roster, I like Boston's chances a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Boston at the end of the day, if I had to pick, but I like Miami a lot. There's a grit to the Heat right now. So
yeah.
But over as far as like pure talent, you know what bothered me just watching the overtime the other night. It just the Celtics, when it was really all on the line, I thought that they just were not playing smart. And if you're going to beat LeBron and company, you got to be a little more seasoned. I think the Heat, they obviously have not played together as long as the Celtics have been with each other, but there's something a little more gritty to Miami that I might appreciate. And like these guys like Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero just making ridiculous shots, and maybe you just have to have some of that going on.
Yeah. I mean, Duncan Robinson statistically had one of the best like catch and shoot individual seasons in the history of modern basketball. So I think just from like a perimeter shooting standpoint, they'd be really fun to watch match up against the Lakers. But I just like, it would be really funny, I guess, in some world, like I think we all look at Marcus Smart and he is what Patrick Beverley thinks he is. So if you had like a Clippers Celtics finals matchup, right, hypothetically, watching Marcus Smart and Patrick Beverley go at each other might be the most annoying thing, but the most must-see thing ever. Be amazing.
That would be incredible. It would be comparable to the Kyle Lowry Marcus
That's
Smart
what I was
matchup
thinking.
in this last round.
Yeah.
It's like these two chippy players who are going to put their bodies on the line.
Right.
They're going to fall up quite a bit, but it's all for the spirit of winning. Everything they do is for their team. And I think that in its essence is what the Heat are all about. It's not just like a one-man thing. I think that's what the entire team tries to do, which is why I think they have a really good chance of upsetting whoever they end up playing in the finals. Because frankly,
Absolutely.
it's an upset from here out, no matter
Absolutely.
what.
No question. No question. And look, I mean, I already got the Lakers winning it next year. I mean, I got LeBron with back-to-back here and sitting at 5 and me just living a very, very tough life of listening to everybody just migrate over to LeBron's the greatest player ever. And I'll still – yeah, right. You know, I who said that? Was that you?
That was Dylan. I think Dylan said that because he is. I think it was Dylan.
No, okay, it definitely was you, Nick. So you should listen to John Starks on the Winnie City Pod, Nick. He broke it down. You know what he said?
Man,
yeah.
You get some good gets on there.
Yeah. We're knocking it down. I asked him, you know, he's telling Mike stories, and I asked about the comparison. Well, you can't really compare him. LeBron plays more like Magic. He's more physical, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Draft, first pick, Mike, LeBron, Mike. I mean, it didn't even take him less than a half a time. Why do you say that? Well, ask anybody. Who would you rather have taken the last shot of any game, Mike or LeBron? I mean, 95% of people are going to say Mike. And, I mean, to me, that's your answer right there. And I was like, well, you know, it's a great way of looking at it, John Starks. But that's, I mean, I know there's a lot of other factors that I would personally bring up as to why I would pick Mike. But if we want to just go who you want to take the last shot, of course we're giving the ball to MJ.
Right. I mean, it depends. Like, well, first I just want to quickly add just to this game. So Kemba just hit a few possessions ago. He had a step back at the top of the key, and it was a really nice bucket. Put him up 4. 5 of 18 on the night, and it's one of those situations where, and I saw somebody tweeted this earlier, and I really had to sit there and think about it. I look at like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and you would think that like Kemba was supposed to be in their big 3, but offensively, he's just been so inconsistent, unreliable, and wishy-washy sort of in these playoffs. And that 5 of 18 night here right now is, I guess, sort of indicative of his past performances. How big of a role do you think he needs to play? Dylan, we'll start with you moving forward if Boston wants to maximize their chances here.
I mean, the biggest thing for me is that the shooting percentages have to come up. I don't think it's possible for this all-NBA caliber guard to be shooting so poorly as the number one guy for his team, even though it's really Jason Tatum now. But it's not possible for them to go out and win against one of these LA teams or potentially even Denver if he's just going to shoot like the way he has. So I think he doesn't need to go off and be a 30-point per game guy. But if he is hitting, you know, roughly 45% of his shots and, you know, 36+% of his threes, I think his team's chance is significantly higher to win if compared to if he's shooting lower than that.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this as a Spurs fan. The mid-range merchants, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, you got give me some insight, give me some prediction. If they're shipped this offseason, where are they going?
So I've heard a lot about Portland for LaMarcus. I think that's been the big discourse for quite a while now. Although personally, I don't necessarily see why they would do that at this point. Miami's shown interest, so that's definitely a team to look out for. The way that I see it, LaMarcus is in a very similar situation to Marc Gasol in the season that he got shipped off by Memphis, where he's a really respected player, but everyone knows that he's past where he was. So whatever haul you're going to get, it's going to be from a team that you don't expect that's trying to make a push. So whoever it is, I think it's more likely to be midseason than it is to be in the offseason.
Right.
And for DeMar, it's so hard to tell because now the pandemic changed everything. We don't know what the salary cap looks like. I think there's a significant chance he takes his $27.7 million. Yeah. He's not getting that anywhere else.
No.
Sneak peek. I got sneak preview. I got something coming tomorrow about DeMar potentially going to the Knicks if Chris Paul goes.
Self-plug there. I like it. I like it.
So there are routes for him to compete.
Sneak preview. The Celtics are showing some jitters here down the stretch. 113-110. Jaylen Brown with a tip in here. 113-112. 142 to go. They're not getting good shots here, y'all. I'm watching a lot of step back action here from Jason Tatum with a hand in his face, and I'm just thinking about how this plays going forward when LeBron's trying to guard you. That is not going to work.
No.
The Heat look better in overtime to me here, and they lead it by 1.
Yeah, there was about 2 possessions ago, Bam Adebayo on the break just had like a wide open dunk to make it 113-110. It was the way that he got from the perimeter on the opposite end of the floor in transition to the other end of the floor. It felt like in like 5 steps. Like the quickness that he plays with sometime is unmatched, and sometimes just it feels unreal a little bit. He's been so great.
He knows his role.
Yeah.
He does exactly what the Heat need him to do. It's interesting with Jimmy. Like, hold on, let me pull up Butler's stats here tonight, because he's not trying to really dominate the basketball. They play the way they play a team game is impressive. Jimmy Butler tonight has taken 12 shots. Yeah. I mean, Dragic has 19. Bam's got 12, and I'm sure those are mostly all coming in the paint. Crowder shot the ball. Crowder's had a phenomenal night. He's 5 of 9 from 3, 7-11 overall, 22. 30 points for Tatum, 26 for Marcus Smart. Kemba's having an off night. He's 5 for 18, 1 of 9 for 3. Part of the reason why the Celtics are down 1 here in OT.
Jaylen Brown's having a – go ahead, Dylan. Go ahead.
I think one of the super overrated aspects of this Heat team has been the Andre Iguodala trade. Like, I don't know why people thought that Andre being there is going to be the catalyst for them to win a championship, because obviously it's the fact that Jimmy is there. He's built to compete.
So some people think that Andre Iguodala is a Hall of Famer.
There's an argument. I mean, it's hard to see a finals MVP who isn't making the Hall of Fame, but also outside of that finals MVP, there's not all that much there to build a resume based on.
Let me give you a finals MVP who's not in the Hall of Fame. Chauncey Billups.
I knew you were going.
Yeah, of course I'm going to say that. Just throw that out there. So it's not too hard to imagine that becoming a reality. Yeah, I think Dylan's right. I think there's an argument to be made, but at the end of the day, that is kind of it, right? Like, he's been this credible, reliable sixth man for however long. It played an integral role in Golden State. But and Mark, you reading those lines just now, it makes me feel relieved that Jay Crowder is hitting all of the threes in this series too. It wasn't just against Milwaukee, which like broke my heart and made me really mad. It's good to know that he just randomly decided that, hey, I'm going to become the NBA's greatest 3-point shooter in the postseason this year.
He's had an interesting little sachet, if you will, around the league, Jay Crowder. He seems to have found a home in Miami as Jason Tatum misses a fadeaway after Tyler Hero shot one around and out. Clippers in Denver just getting underway here. 2-0 Clippers. 1 minute into the game. We'll be able to watch it live whenever this Heat Celtics game comes to a finish. Butler in the lane off the glass, missed it. Rebound to the Celtics. This is some good, high-quality, spirited basketball, even if the shots aren't necessarily falling here in overtime.
The defensive intensity is definitely there. These bad shots aren't just because they're putting up bad shots. It's because they're being forced into them, right? So that's kind of what we knew, if nothing else, we were going to get in this series, is whether it was Toronto, whether it was Boston that faced Miami, or even Milwaukee for that matter, if they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. The defense that we're going to get, and honestly, even just the rest of the way, whether it's the Clippers, whether it's the Nuggets against the Lakers, even into the finals, we're going to get some really good defense, and that's really exciting.
28.7 left. Boston getting bailed out here on a couple of bad passes, but Miami's been unable to corral it. So the Celtics will inbound, foul line extended right here. Tatum's coming into Kemba, guarded by Hero. Step back, 16-footer is good from the left wing. 114-113. Boston, 23.2 left. As I segue real quick here, I want to get your guys' read on what's happening in Houston. And let me check the chat line, by the way, here. Oh, wow. Sapska, greetings from Serbia. We got you. Let's go, Jokic. We'll be with you in a second, my friend, when they pop it on here. Pistons talk with the Kemba Walker coming in here. And, hey, what's up, Duncan Smith? What's up, Josh Wilson?
Duncan, Josh, yay.
Way to go, Hunter. Good to see everybody. What's your take on what the Rockets should do now that Mike D'Antoni's out the door?
I could write an MLA formatted essay on it, so let me see what Dylan has to say about it first, so I know what I don't have to hit on.
The hyper small ball was not the way to go. I understand the thought process. I see they pretty much knew it was D'Antoni's last year.
All
but
right.
it's so hard to compete in today's game, especially in the playoffs, as we could see with a paint heavy team like the Lakers. It's so hard to compete when you got Robert Covington as your center. The thing about Robert Covington is he is such a talented player, but the fact that he has to do so much on defense wears him out.
Yeah.
Like I think they need other pieces there to help them compete. I think Russ is not being utilized properly. Granted, he is also making a lot of mistakes, but that's to be expected at this point.
Right.
And I think they lean too far into D'Antoni's system. And the problem is they have to pick someone who is going to actually put together good plays and a nice system, as opposed to someone who's just going to come in and be like, hey, guys, do what you need to do. Get hard on the ball.
Right.
Because it's so easy to do that, but that's not how you build a winning system.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm in the camp that so Daryl Morey is like my favorite basketball person that has ever existed ever, right? Like he followed me back on Twitter and it was the happiest time. I was so happy that I even I recorded a 15-minute podcast episode about it because I was so happy. But to me, and Dylan, I know that I get 100% what you're saying when you're saying it doesn't work. To me, small ball does work. I mean, they've proven time in and time out that it does. They won 60 basketball games in 2018, and they were a Chris Paul hamstring and missing not 27 threes in a row away from playing for an NBA championship. So it can work. The issue is that when you're playing this game of chances and probabilities, ultimately there's two sides. Either you're going to win handsomely and your stats are going to look real nice, or you're going to get absolutely throttled and you're going to be shooting. You're going to miss 27 consecutive threes, right?
Hold on. We interrupt this Nick Hinkle take to let you know that Jimmy Butler banged his way down the lane, got fouled, hit the shot, Heat by 1, 12 seconds to go. Butler has one free throw. Back to your love affair with Daryl Morey, and I love the way he validated you on Twitter, Nick.
Yeah, and he's liked a few of my tweets. We've corresponded a little bit. I'm too scared to DM him to ask him to come on the podcast.
Why?
Because like people ask me like, what's the worst? Like the worst he does is not reply, right?
Yeah.
But then I don't, because I check like weekly to make sure he's still following me. Because I don't want him to see me tweet something dumb and then be like, this kid's an idiot.
You can't let Daryl Morey handle your Twitter, Nick. Live your life.
So
be free. Spread your takes.
Guess maybe I'll harness this energy and I'll shoot my shot right when we get off of this stream. But no, as far as where they go from here,
now might not be the time to ask him. He's got some stuff going on.
Well, that's true. Yeah, his job is potentially in jeopardy. You're right.
You think so? Really?
I think there's a chance,
so.
And I don't think that it's sealed in stone that he's going to be out of a job. But you know, it's going to be really interesting to see what direction they do want to take. I will say that if there's anybody you want at the helm, if you're looking to facilitate a Russell Westbrook trade again, I would say it's probably Morey. It's just going to be interesting to see how they're able to actually pull that off, if that is what they want to do. And Duncan Smith, I don't even know if he's still in here, proposed a Blake Griffin for Russell Westbrook trade. And I think there are some pros to that, believe it or not. I understand it. And admittedly, sorry, Duncan, if you are still in here, I did not read your article. But I do know the benefits of it. And, you know, if that's the direction, because
here we go, 10 seconds. Tatum out front. Celtics down by 2. Tatum double team. Tatum in the lane. Tatum tried to dunk it. Got it blocked by Adebayo. Heat with the rebound to Jimmy. Okay, and we foul with 2.5. Wow. Bam Adebayo meeting Jason Tatum at the rim and said, see you later. And Taco Fall can't believe it. I mean, that is just all men are not created equal type of stuff right there. 6'10" guy going to the hoop trying to cram it. And this, oh my God, was that an incredible block. With the left hand, he basically had it right at the rim coming down, and Adebayo said, get the F out of here.
And that's what I was talking about earlier in terms of just the competitive drive. I mean, this Heat team lives to compete. They live for these moments, close games, late in the fourth quarter and overtime. I mean, this is where they thrive. So that's why they have that championship DNA, and that's why they can actually go and compete with one of the LA teams.
Absolutely.
First free throw, no good here by Adebayo. 2.5 left. Boston does not have any timeouts. So they're going to have to go the length of the court here in 2.5. You could do the patented fire it to half court. No, that wouldn't even work. You got no timeouts. Never mind. One more free throw coming. It's good. 3-point game. Smart, now realizing they don't have any timeouts, looking, fires it into the – Tatum's got it. He's on the ground. He picks it up. He shoots the three. He missed the three. The game's over. The game's over? The game's over. Wow. Unbelievable.
All right.
I thought he traveled. I thought he did a zillion things, but they let it all go down, and he shot a ridiculously tough shot that hit the front rim that was on line. But the Celtics are going to walk off a loser here. Hang on a second. I just want to get the – they were outscored 35-23 in the fourth. Ouch.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Grant Williams for logging all these minutes and being a defensive pest. This guy is insanely good for a first-year player.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though he did miss 2 unbelievably crucial free throws at the end of the Toronto series, right before Jason Tatum gets the rebound and is subsequently fouled, goes back to the line. I believe knocked them both down. And that's what ultimately sealed the fate. It was the following possession. We were talking earlier about terrible shots, these unoptimal shots, and how Mark prefers mid-range because, Michael Jordan in the 90s, and, that's how basketball used to be played. No, but Fred VanVleet comes down the floor. He comes down the floor at the end of that Boston Raptors game and has maybe the most unoptimal possession I've ever seen in my life. Just kind of hammers the ball into the floor for about 9 seconds, steps back from 3 on the wing, and is subsequently blocked, of course, because it was a bad shot. And is he still going to get paid $20+ million this summer? Absolutely, he is. But yeah, lasting memory of Fred VanVleet, not great.
Was that the greatest block you guys have ever seen to do with a dunk that would have won a basketball game?
Can we count? Let's throw Andre Iguodala back in. I know it was a layup and not a dunk, but LeBron's dunk on him was pretty good. Our block on him was pretty good in the finals a few years ago.
If that counts, that's it. I mean, that's probably the greatest block of all time.
If it counts, exactly. Yeah, but also you can't point to that and say it would have won the game. And like Mark just said, this most definitely would have, right? So yeah, Mark, you might be onto something there. Absolutely.
I mean, that I can't remember anybody literally almost taking the ball out of the basket. I mean, he was coming down hard. That's some serious Bam Adebayo strength right there. I don't know. That was hang on one second here, team.
Let me ask you this, Dylan, while Mark is configuring. Yeah. So the all rookie teams came out today. I saw some people took some issue with one of the players on the first team. I'm sure you can imagine, even if you hadn't seen it, Zion. Let me ask you, do you think he deserved to be on the first team all rookie this year?
You can't put him on the all rookie second team. And I also don't think that you can leave him off of an all rookie team.
Exactly.
So give him the first team spot. Also, when you look back, I don't think people are really that nitpicky about all rookie first versus all rookie second. That's the kind of award where if you're an all rookie player, you got that.
If you're on it, you're good. Right.
I think the same thing with all defensive teams. It's like if you were on it, you got it. You're one of the 10 best defensive players in the league.
Exactly.
So you can't look at this rookie class and tell me like Matisse Thybulle. I think he's probably the biggest snub out of the group, but I wouldn't put him over.
Really good point. That's a really good point.
I don't think that Rui Hachimura should have gotten it over him. Rui's great, and I love him. I love watching him play. I wrote a whole bunch about him in the pre-draft process, but Thybulle had a better year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mark, what do you think about that?
What was
Thybulle question? Yeah,
Thybulle versus who?
It was the question was, do you think Zion deserved to be on the first team all rookie?
Wow. Remind me how many games exactly Zion played?
I think it was 24.
24 games.
Average 22 and 6.
I mean, I think the answer is no. I mean, you play less than. What do we end up at 7? No, I don't think. Listen, I think he'll be an all-star next year, but I would not have put him on the first team all rookie this year. No, you can't do it. 24 games? That's not. This is not fair. Although, albeit you guys are a little more in the depth here with who actually belonged there. But on the surface, I'd say no. What was your answer, Dylan?
Go Go ahead.
Yeah, I put him on there. I think just the talent alone, it separated him too much. I think if you put someone else on there, it wouldn't be based on how good they were when they were played. It would be based on how many games. And I think Zion hit a certain level that was like just too undeniable. If he won the Rookie of the Year, I would take a great issue with that. But for the all-rookie team, you're going to look back and say he was one of the best 10 rookies, even if he
do you all think that he's going to be able to stay healthy?
I'm concerned. I'm not sold on it.
Yeah. Concerned is the right word for it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was concerned before he came in the league. I'm more concerned now, and that would just suck end of the day. I mean, we deserve to see how that talent's going to play out, but I don't know. He's had some weird fluke things happen at Duke, coming out of his shoe and looking like his knee's going to, bend in half or whatever. And then, of course, everything that happened this year, I was worried they were going to bring him back too soon. They didn't do that. I'll give them credit. But I was hoping they would be, end up being in the playoffs, but obviously it didn't work out. They were very conservative with them. So hopefully that'll work out in the future. By the way, Jokic in the lane gets fouled. Yes. Okay. So free throws coming. Denver down 2 here. 13-11 early going. Game 7. Doc Rivers looks calm.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a body transformation for Zion if he's going to stay healthy.
Right, but how do you even do it? Like, I don't know.
I did either.
Zion's going to, like, he had a body transformation during the whole pandemic, right? You saw the pictures change, but it's like, how much weight can that guy lose and or put on more muscle to make himself more, I don't know. Just, when you're that explosive, and that big, I don't know. There's got to be some really good trainers out there, I guess, that can figure it out. But it's worrisome. Not that if, by the way, of course, I would have taken him number 1 overall and all that type of stuff. But I do think that's obviously that's the one thing that can keep him from being an all-time great.
What I will say, Mark, is I guess you had somebody on there, Kobe White, all rookie this year. How do you feel about that?
He, I like Kobe. I listen. I thought they should let him run the show. There's a lot of talk in Chicago about he's not a point guard, he's a 2 guard. I'm like, no. He's been here for 5 seconds.
Yeah,
let him put the ball in his hands. Enough with the Thomas Satoransky nonsense.
Yeah,
let him be your guard off the bench. No, that's fine, but you stink. This is your 7th overall pick.
Yeah,
let him roll. And they didn't really do it. The guy's got talent. There's no doubt about it. I love his attitude. I think he's incredibly likable. By the way, we're going to have him on the podcast this week and talking to him, I think, on Friday.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a fan, but I want to see him with the ball in his hands running the team, and we didn't really get to see that a whole lot this year. I love Ben Gordon when he was rolling with the Bulls back in the day, undersized 2 guard. I don't think Kobe shoots it quite that well, and that's also not a great formula for success. You're too tiny to be playing. Maybe that's too old school thinking again, but for me, like a 6-foot off guard is not your plan right now to win in the league.
I do agree with that. I don't think that's an age thing. I just think that's true. Just a quick little sidetrack here. You bring up Ben Gordon. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the app Cameo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ben Gordon's on there. Any idea what he charges for a video?
$25.
It's a good guess. Dylan, throw one out there.
Say 50.
Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking it should be, right? I'm not mad at him. Get your money. Like you.
Don't tell me Ben Gordon's
$800.
What is? Oh, come on, Ben.
And I was like, because he has some that are publicly on there that have been sent to people that you can watch. And I was doing it last night because sometimes you just find yourself in a rabbit hole. And
I love Nick Hinkle watching Ben Gordon cameos late at night. Go ahead.
I was watching, it's like 2 a.m. the other day. I'm in this rabbit hole looking at the Philadelphia Warriors roster in 1946.
Oh, good. You're so good.
I'm looking at Joe Falk's stat line, averaging 23 a game.
Who?
On 20. Joe Falk's, Jumpin' Joe, averaged 23 a game, 26 shots, 10 free throws a game. Guy's got 33 chances to score per game and is scoring, or 26 rather, and is scoring 23 a game. I don't really want to talk about guys from the 40s. I don't think anybody's going to care. Completely different game back then. Hardly even the same basketball we know today.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Good point, Nick.
Shooting 30% from the field. That's your history lesson there, folks. Joe Folks, Jumpin' Joe.
A couple days ago, I found myself watching a Kenneth Fareed highlight reel.
Oh my God, you guys are the best. Look at you two. Folks,
like all random players, man.
Maybe you should do a podcast, the two of you, Folks and Fareed.
You want to talk about? All right, we'll do another one. We got some time here. The greatest dunker of all time, Mark. I think I know your answer.
No. I mean, yeah, maybe you do. Am I gonna? I mean, who would I even put ahead of Mike?
Vince, maybe.
Right.
I put Vince.
So
Vince is my pick.
Let me tell you my honest to God. Go ahead. If you're gonna, you got something else, you can go ahead.
No, I would just. I mean, like, look, in game, I'm giving it to Mike. If you want to talk like sheer ridiculousness in the dunk contest, Vince is out of his mind. So I would agree with that. But like in game,
yeah,
ridiculous breakaway. I mean, kiss the rim, whatever you want. I mean, it was preposterous. Go ahead.
Terrence Stansbury.
Oh my God, I loved him.
Oh my God, my dream interview. You can talk about Avery Johnson all you want. Great, I love him. My dream interview is Terrence Stansbury, and the guy hasn't tweeted since 2015. To me, honest to God, the greatest dunker of all time. A member of the illustrious 1984 draft class. You hear about Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan all the time. You don't hear about Terrence Stansbury, one pick before John Stockton. Are you kidding me? Like, I know that Stockton wasn't revered the way that he is, now and in the late 90s, obviously, and also the Mavericks didn't need him, but Terrence Stansbury, I swear to God, the greatest dunker ever.
You know the story about Stockton on the 84 Olympic team?
I do not.
Stockton was, whatever. Undersized point guard, Gonzaga. You got all these big names. So he was just not as hyped, but Knight freaking loved Stockton. And he didn't put him on the team, but I think he started telling NBA guys, this guy's going to be really, really, really good. Bobby blew that one up. Wrong call. I don't know who he was taking off. Vern Fleming comes to mind as one guy that could have taken off that team. But regardless, he was nobody knew who the hell he was, and he came in there and played incredible basketball. John Stockton's so I don't know if underrated is the right word, but it was just I always appreciated the competitiveness of Stockton. Guy he'd be guarding Jordan in the post, and he would give he would just fight him. Like how that level of competitiveness, I just appreciated it. 17-13, by the way, Nuggets, the basketball here, 3:21 to go first quarter. As you see the stats here, Lamar Murray for three. Thank you. I can speak. In and out, no goods. Not a great starter for the Clips, guys. Little. I mean, did I just call Jamal Murray Lamar Murray? I'm really losing it tonight. But this is not a great start for the LA Clippers as far as the way they've come out and been hot early. I don't know how much you guys are concerned right now, but I'm already concerned for the Clippers.
I don't think either side looks particularly great at this moment.
They don't, right? Ooh. I think Landry Shamet just twisted an ankle. That's not good.
Yeah, he was hobbling on it already.
Oy.
Not great. Do you think that Montrezl Harrell deserved that sixth-man award?
Yes.
Okay, that's where I stand. That's where I stand as well, but I've seen a lot of backlash about Dennis Schroeder. He was great.
That's the argument. That's the argument right there, yes.
It's not Lou Will.
No, I honest to God, like I remember I got into this debate with a Thunder fan early on in the year because I was like, they said that Schroeder was better than Derrick Rose, and I was like, you're an unequivocal moron.
That's such a bad comment.
But then I looked into it a little bit, right? And statistically, like impact wise, Derrick Rose meant more maybe to the Pistons just because we didn't have anybody else. But like I get now what he was saying. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. And I think the only other option for sixth man this year was Schroeder because he was chef's kiss. He was really good for Oklahoma City.
I'll tell you what, every single year, Dennis Schroeder is one of those great fantasy basketball guys. I don't know if either of you play, but he goes so under the radar and ends up like a top 50 or 60 fantasy guy every year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember I played one year My problem with fantasy is this, mainly with football. People are like, can I tell you who's on my team? And I'm like, I don't really care. No, I'd prefer you didn't. And then as soon as I get a team, all I want to do is tell people who's on my team. You know what I mean? Then I become that guy. But no, as far as fantasy basketball goes, I never really do it. But that makes complete sense that he would be one of those sneaky guys for sure.
By the way, Duncan's weighing in on your cameo on going down the rabbit hole. I'm wondering, Nick, are you on there? Can we?
I'm not. I thought about it and just charging like $2 because, like, you know, who cares? But no, I'm not on there. No.
Can you charge as low as $2?
I honestly don't know. I could probably look. I have seen some for $5. I remember I was talking to Luke Kennard once, and I told him about the Ben Gordon thing. And at the time, he was only charging $600, and then he upped it to $8. But Luke was like, I would charge like $30, like that's it. And I'm like, and people would pay that because that's awesome, right? I know Rip Hamilton's on there now too.
But Hunter says he'd give you $1. Duncan says you could really supplement the income with the cameos. I don't believe that, but I love the optimism. I think you should give it a spin. I'm in for $5.
You want one for $5? Me just saying,
I'll match it.
Happy birthday or something like that. I don't even like. What do you?
No, I would want like a deep piston take or something. Give me a Montrezl Harrell take. Tell me why Jamal Murray is better than Kemba Walker. That's a terrible reach by me because he is. But
I was gonna say, are we sure that he's not? Yeah.
No. I take Murray over Walker all day. But here's PG for 3. He's got it from the right wing. Clippers down 2, 24-22. I'm just gonna be openly rooting for the Clippers tonight. How are you guys okay with that?
Go right ahead. You have every right to.
I will just be a Nuggets guy then, just so we have some balance here. And I'm still a little bit convinced that there's some monetary motivation here. I swear Mark's got the house on the Clippers. I swear.
He who gambles lives in shambles, Nick. I'm Fred Carmen's son. I can't be out here putting my FanSided dollars on the line here and betting on a team like the Clippers that can't close out 19 and 18-point leads and somehow they're in Game 7 right now and are embarrassing themselves. PG for another 3. That one's no good. What is wrong with Paul George? Anybody?
Playoff P, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, now it's Pandemic P.
Pandemic P. Yeah. I mean,
that guy just falls apart every single year. It's
Absolutely.
like clockwork. It happens though. Some guys elevate in the playoffs, some guys fall. Paul George is just proving that he's one of the guys that falls, and that's why it's a little bit tough to see that like this is the number 2 guy that Kawhi chose. I mean, I think if Kawhi is still on the Raptors, they're in the finals this year.
Yes,
pretty easily. I'd take them over Miami or Boston, but
yes.
Do you want to go home? That's it.
Any chance that he regrets his decision?
No. I don't think that's Kawhi. I think he just wanted to be home. That's it. He wanted to become the king of LA. And
like, let's be clear. I know we haven't said this. I just want to make sure nobody's thinking it. It's not his fault. Like if this is not anybody's fault that the Clippers are in the place that they are, it's Kawhi. Like the man has done literally everything that he can to get to this point. It's Paul George, it's Montrezl Harrell, it's Patrick Beverley. It's guys that just flat out aren't showing up. I can think back to like 2 individual bad shots that Kawhi has taken like all playoffs. So yeah, it's not him.
Can I let me argue with you on this one, Nick, because I do think, and by the way, Shaquille O'Neal was on DeWindy City Podcast and he brought this up. You should listen to Shaq on DeWindy. Look, I asked him because to me, the Clippers have looked like the Heat looked when LeBron got there. It was D-Wade go, LeBron go, Wade go. And their first year, their chemistry was never there, and then they end up losing to the Mavs. To me, the Clippers look the same way. PG, you go. Kawhi, you go. Kawhi, you go. PG, you go. And I asked Shaq, how did it work out with him in Miami, where him and Dwayne Wade were immediately on the same wavelength? And he said, look, because I came in there and I set it up where I told him exactly what I was going to do, and this is what you need to do. And it was very clear what their roles. And I would say with Kawhi, because he's Kawhi and kind of a quirky personality Kawhi, there's been something missing the way he's brought this team together that I would put on him, which feels a little bit unfair, but I think it's accurate that he has not brought this team together the best way that he possibly could. And maybe it's on them because he certainly did it in Toronto in 1 year. So maybe it's partly on his teammates, but something's been missing in LA. And I think that he's somewhere the leadership came up a little bit short.
There are also different kinds of leaders in the NBA. You've got the leader like LeBron who is going to be vocal. He's going to get everybody, he's going to pull them to the side. He's going to tell them what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, how they can improve the team. The guys who are out there on the front lines, making their presence known and kind of having their greatness impact everyone around them. Kawhi's not that guy. Kawhi is, I mean, granted, we can't say what he's like behind closed doors. No one really can outside of Kawhi and the players. But Kawhi is not going to go out there and be picking apart the game and telling everyone where they need to be, because he is just leading by example. Now he's going to go out, he's going to make the right play, he's going to try to guard whoever is getting buckets on the other team. Yeah. But he's not necessarily going to be like a player coach.
Yeah, I get it. It's not who he is, but and I'm not saying he needs to be super vocal, by the way, on the court, but maybe it's in the locker room, maybe it's in practice, somewhere. Right. That's all I'm saying.
Let me ask you, or let me just bring this up too. I want to give Dylan some credit here for anybody who hasn't seen, and Mark, I don't know if you're aware either. The biggest enemy of the Spurs is something that Dylan has done over at Air Alamo. Correct me if I'm wrong. The finals was, I believe, Kawhi and Uncle Dennis, correct?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
And listen, before we get into that, I got to give credit to Josh Paredes because it was his idea. It was his initiative. I just helped him kind of brainstorm it, but shout out to Josh.
I will say I voted for Uncle Dennis on 3 different accounts. So I kind of stuffed the ballot there a little bit. Did he end up winning?
It was Uncle Dennis. Yeah, he's the rightful champion, as he should be, because it wasn't Kawhi, it was Uncle Dennis that whole time.
Exactly. And how do you go about even writing that article? Are you just saying, like, kind of recapping everything that, Uncle Dennis actually did, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, it was brief. And, around the time that this whole Kawhi saga was happening is when I started to take a more hands-on role at Air Alamo. So it's hard to cover because you don't want to be talking bad on someone's family.
Right.
Like, that's just not right. But this guy did have a serious impact to the organization.
Right.
So it's more just saying, listen, this is the guy who steered Kawhi away from the Spurs. Some of his dealings might have been shady. Who's to say? Yeah. But he was the mastermind behind the whole breakup, which has put the Spurs out of the playoffs pretty much now.
What's Kawhi's legacy in San Antonio?
It's a great question.
Fans are it's tainted. Fans are very bitter. Personally, I've moved on. I'm not so upset anymore, but I mean, seeing him get his number retired in San Antonio is something that I wouldn't bet my money on. Even though he might deserve it, but it's so tainted.
How many titles did he win?
1. It's just 1, but it was probably the most important of them.
Yes.
And did he win the Finals MVP that year?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. Although there's a case that Boris Diaw should have won it, but I'm not getting into that now.
I mean, I remember him being so much better, and it's like, oh my God, this is your team to the hilt here.
Yeah.
I forgot it was only 1 title. Okay.
See, they should have won a title in 2017, but the runners-up, Zaza,
oh my gosh,
bracket ruined that.
You gotta hang it. He won a title for you. You gotta hang it. That banner's cool. I'm not saying it needs to be tomorrow, but in 2052, there's got to be a ceremony. Everybody should share.
Eventually, yeah. And let me just say this: if he doesn't, God forbid, let's say he doesn't. What I'm hearing is this: Kawhi Leonard, a Finals MVP for the San Antonio Spurs, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. He won 2 in San Antonio, correct?
MVP runner-up too.
Wouldn't have his number retired, but Avery Johnson would. So just connecting some dots there. Okay.
Avery was a great Spur, man.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he was influential in that whole thing. And you know what? He was also like the on-court voice of Pop because they were so close-knit. They even when Pop got fired, Avery went with him to Golden State, and then they came back. That dude is Spur through and through.
What do we think of Pop's future?
That's a question for Dylan, 100%.
The
You
the
know
end
everything
is
too, Nick.
on the horizon. The end is definitely coming close, but it's not
Really?
time yet.
Do you think like is coaching end or is that in San Antonio?
No, I think his coaching, and I don't see him finishing his career anywhere except for San Antonio. And even after he's done coaching, I still think he's gonna be a leading voice there, even if it's not in an official role. People are gonna be calling him. They're gonna be consulting Pop.
His house is on the market, if I'm not mistaken, right now.
Yeah, it's been on the market for a long time though. What happened
Gotcha.
was I don't know if you remember in 2018 in that first round series, his wife died, and shortly after that, that's when that house went on the market.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know the full details, but I think Popovich is the Spurs. The Spurs are Popovich, and whatever comes next. I mean, even when he's not in that head coaching role anymore, it's still going to be a lot of his teachings and all the things that he set place for this franchise that are going to be guiding them into the next era.
Absolutely. And just to very quickly, I guess, get back to the game. We missed it just a couple minutes ago when we came back from the break. We did hear Mark's audible reaction to that Montrezl Harrell dunk, which kind of rattled around a little bit and then found its way in the rim. So it's really good to see him get going, honestly, even as, I know a lot of people don't want him to succeed. A lot of Clippers fans don't want him to succeed right now because he's been so bad, which is weird to me. And then just before we went to the timeout, Lou Williams doing Lou Williams things with a ball on a string, putting the ball in the basket. The biggest thing for me that I've noticed so far is turnovers for Denver. And I don't really know what the disparity is right now. Mark, I don't know if you have the numbers up next to you. If you don't, it's okay.
I do.
What's the turnover disparity right now?
I'm pulling it up right now. We've got whoa. How many turnovers do you think the Nuggets have?
9.
Okay, and how many do you think the Clippers have?
About maybe 2.
So right now, if these stats are right, and I don't know why they wouldn't be, ESPN.com, the Nuggets have 7 turnovers and the Clippers have 3.
That was right there.
Yeah,
that close.
That was close.
Good turnover sense here. I'm impressed. 30-25, by the way. Again, as you can see, obviously Clippers with the lead. Jokic has 8 to lead Denver. If you're wondering about the leading scores, Harrell and Marcus Morris both with 7. Pat Beverly, by the way, is your highest plus minus of anyone. He's plus 11 right now. Montrezl Harrell has had a couple of finishes at the rim here that have been very Montrezl Harrell, like some serious strength going to the bucket.
So there's one thing with him I wanted to get around to. Is he with this team next year? Because I think he's earned himself some money, and I don't know if the Clippers are going to be willing to pay it.
That's a glue piece you don't want to lose. That's for sure.
An identity guy, I think, is kind of he brings that to the table for the Clippers. And because you're right, like he's going to get paid. Like him and Fred VanVleet are maybe the 2 most attractive free agents on the market, where it's like they could actually go somewhere. But like Mark said, I think he's too important to the team and to the culture of the Clippers to actually go anywhere. Let me ask you guys this question, because Mark, you brought up plus minus, and I hate plus minus.
Why?
What? We'll get to that in a minute. What stat out there, whether it's advanced or not, do you guys think can be least correlated to a player's actual contribution on the floor, if that makes sense? Okay.
Pretty easily VORP.
Okay.
I think it's just like a hodgepodge of numbers being run that really don't have a true, honest review of what's actually happening on the basketball court.
I completely defer to both of you guys who live in this world. Give me some other I don't know. I mean, look, I've always been maybe it's my ego, but I've always felt like let me actually watch the game and give you the eye test to tell you what's going on there. But
gotcha.
And normally, okay, fine, PER, like it actually bears out most times, but a lot of those, it always sways to the big man, and then you can I guess break it down by position that way. But and less nowadays too, because there aren't any big men left. Are you hearing that, or is it just me? ESPN just keeps playing in my ear here. I don't know, Nick. Well, give me your answer. I'm curious as to what I should be not looking at.
like, to me, true shooting percentage, and my brother, I know he was watching this a minute ago. I don't know if he still is. My brother despises true shooting percentage. Like, if you bring it up, he'll just ignore what you're saying because he thinks it's complete nonsense. I have this love-hate relationship with it where I think it kind of adds everything and you sort of get the total impact of a player's offensive capabilities. But ultimately, I think it's just stupid. Give me their splits. I'm fine with that way. Averaging into one number just feels weird. As far as plus minus goes, I don't know. It's just like the Pistons could win. I'm sorry, they could lose by like 40.
Kawhi for 3, Clippers by 6. Go ahead.
But Thon Maker could be like plus 17, and people are going to be like, oh, he was like, I don't know. Like, there's just something about it, and I guess I can't really figure out how to articulate it. Something about plus minus
you could be on the court when things are going really well, and you have nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
It's sure, but that's over time. If you have a consistent good plus minus, you're doing something right out there.
I think my problem with it is the application of plus minus, because people will use plus minus to justify anything. But if you're using it within context and reason, and again, like comparing with the eye test, that's how I do everything. All my writing, all my analysis, it's like comparing both. Did
you all see the Steph Curry video that was making its way around the internet the other day?
No.
About the coaching highlights.
He's sitting. It starts with Steph on the bench, and he's distraught. He's got his head down, towel over his face. He's like 2 for 11 shooting the basketball. Kerr sits right down next to him. He's like, look, I know you think you're having a tough night, and I know when you look at this stat, you see 2 for 11, and it confirms that you're bad at basketball or whatever he said. He's like, but look at this stat. Look at your plus minus. Look what you do for us when you're on the court. Dude, even when you're not making shots, you help us be better. Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I like to think that Steve Kerr knows what he's talking about, but maybe he was just using it to prop up his player there too. But it was a great video, man. He grabs him as he's coming off for halftime. Yeah. He's like, that's why I love you, man. You come up and you shoot from 40 feet, full confidence. I wish I played like you. So yeah, go ahead.
There's certainly some merit to it. Absolutely. Like a guy like Steph individually, he may not be shooting well, but when he's on the floor, there are a lot of eyes on him, right? A lot of attention being drawn to him, if not multiple bodies. So it's going to free up other shooters. So in some instances, yeah, it's like a legitimate thing. And that's why there is some merit to it. But ultimately, and admittedly, people don't necessarily do this, like leaning on plus minus and being like, oh, see, he was good tonight because he was like plus 19. Like that's not always the case. Mark, like you said, sometimes you're just on the floor running around getting your cardio in when things happen to be going right, and you're just kind of like basketball is being played in your general vicinity and it's just the right place at the right time. But sometimes it is a true indication of impact,
right? And like I don't know, like people will be like, oh, Robert Ory's got 7 rings, must be a championship player.
Patrick McCaw has 3, so I don't.
Right.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Right. I mean, to me, like, this is not what you were talking about, but I actually find like just the whole championship argument to me is exhausting, and I think like championships are overrated. How good were you at taking your team as far as they could possibly go?
Yeah.
LeBron shouldn't get cracked for losing to the KD Warriors. That's not fair. Now he should get cracked for losing to Dallas.
Yes.
And he should get cracked, by the way, to losing to the Spurs too, in my mind at least. Had a better team, and at least it shouldn't have gone the way it went. Like that was like out with a whimper. It was embarrassing. But he should get huge props for the championship that he won in Cleveland. That team, that was by far his greatest accomplishment. That team didn't deserve to win that. Well, I mean, and Golden State was hurt some, but that was an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
So. Like, and people are like, oh, Michael lost in the first round. He was playing the Boston Celtics with Bird and McHale and Parrish and I mean, come on. Yeah. Like you can't hold that against someone. It's ridiculous. And so same thing with like guys like you're gonna hold against Stockton and Malone or Barkley or Ewing, who didn't win titles. And David Robinson's a better center because it's just not he didn't. That's ridiculous. I'm not trying to take anything away from your guy. Dylan.
A lot of shots at the Spurs here. Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
The difference is it could be the championships can be a separator between players. I mean, if there are 2 all-time greats, who had similar careers, who were both were productive, who both made a big impact on their team, but one of them got it done and the other one didn't, I think that has to count for something. But I do agree that it is a bit overrated in the sense that there are certain players like the ones that you mentioned, and there's modern guys. I mean, the talent pool is unlike it's ever been before.
Yes.
There are going to be star players who are not going to get rings, who are going to get knocked for it, that maybe shouldn't. Because in this prime period where people could be winning championships, you get the Golden State dynasty. There's LeBron James still around.
Yeah.
It's like not everyone gets to win a championship every year. Only one team does it. And on those teams, there's never going to be more than a handful of all-time great players. So using it as the separator is one thing, but discrediting careers because a guy doesn't win a championship is just not a viable way to do it.
Let me ask, I got two questions. One is a trivia question because that's just who I am. Mark, I don't know if you heard. I got two questions. The first is a trivia question.
Okay.
And then the second one is specifically for Dylan as a Spurs fan. When people say like Michael's the greatest of all time because he has 6 or whatever, do you guys know who is second all time in NBA championships?
Second all time in NBA championships.
As an individual player.
Well, Russell's got 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ori's got 7.
It's not him.
So somebody's got more than 7.
Yep.
How many did Havlicek get?
Not as many as whoever's second. Because I can tell you, I know a lot about this guy. It's like jumping Joe Fulks. I know a lot about this guy. It is Sam Jones.
I was going to pick a Celtic.
Sam Jones.
Yep,
Yeah.
Sam Jones. So that's why I'm like, is Sam Jones the second greatest basketball player of all time? You couldn't tell me anything about him.
Over to Sam Jones.
Yeah. Dylan, this is my question for you. Are you haunted by one-shoed Mike Miller?
I love Nick Hinkle questions, by the way. They're just like, do you sit there, Nick, before you answer that one, Dylan, do you sit there at night, like as your girlfriend or whoever, maybe, I don't know what goes on in your world. I think you sleep by your girlfriend. Do you just like sit there at 2 a.m, you just come up with these questions and have a debate with yourself?
Yes, literally, like before, and this is going to sound really weird. I'll like rehearse in the mirror. I will talk like I'm talking right now, and I'll have a conversation. I'll practice certain points. I'll ask certain questions. Big question guy. I love him. Yeah, I just love information. I love hearing people's opinions. But Dylan, so thank you for that. But so Dylan, are you remembering what I'm talking about with one-shoed Mike Miller, the bucket that he was?
The thing is, when you're living as a Spurs fan, nothing will ever come close to Ray Allen. Like
right.
Ray Allen,
of course.
Ray Allen is the equivalent to the devil to me. Like he just ripped my heart out of my chest,
right?
And stomped on it.
Yeah.
So
biggest shot in Heat history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Miller, it's more just like props. Like I don't know how this guy loses a shoe and still goes at it like that. But
crazy game because the fans obviously leave. Ray hits the shot. Mike Miller's running around with one shoe. LeBron loses his headband, and at the time that was like, whoa, where's LeBron? I can't find the headband.
I forgot about the Mike Miller one shoe. I know that's
bucket.
Yeah,
absolute bucket.
And the fans leaving too. That was so gross. It's so
trying
gross
to get back in. Yeah. The second question I had was, can you think of or even look at Thiago Splitter without thinking of him getting, and you're kind of smirking because I think you know where I'm going with just getting, I mean, sunned, maybe the best block I've ever seen.
No, it's always the first thing that comes to mind. And unfortunately, I've watched a lot of Thiago Splitter in my life.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of other things that also pop up, mostly just like short baby hook jumpers.
Absolutely.
Shots that people are just not allowed to take anymore.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the block is the first thing that I think of. And I hate that that's the fact. To be truthful, I was thinking about earlier this 2014 Spurs team, and that's still one of the first images that comes into my head. Or rather 2013, but and then of course 14 made it a little bit easier to think back on these things. But
absolutely,
Thiago Splitter was a solid player. It's just the block.
A little Kawhi to PG on the break here. Clippers up 7 as the Nuggets turn it over. second quarter has been mostly LA here, although 7-point game ain't nothing. Just for the record, I don't mean to break up the Tiago Splitter momentum here. What about where does Sean Elliott fall in your pantheon? Let me ask one Spur question.
Yeah.
You have to listen to him every night. Are you too young to appreciate a Sean Elliott tight roping the sideline 3-ball in whatever series that was? You know what I'm talking about, Dylan?
Memorial Day Miracle.
There, okay.
Against Portland, is that the one that you're talking about?
I just remember him. If he hadn't arched his heels up, he would have been on the line, and he buried a ridiculous 3.
Yeah.
And he was an all-time class act down in San Antonio. And my guy Bill Land, who does your play-by-play, he loves Sean Elliott.
Those guys are like, they've left a mark on my life. I mean, so the playoff run pretty much coincided with my life. I was born in 98. So it's like, until now, all I've ever known was winning Spurs basketball. Yeah. So those guys are like echoed in my brain as associated with it.
It's just really painful. I was born in 98.
So was I.
That's just this.
I was born on the night the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup in 1998. My dad wanted to name me Stanley, but my mom said no. And it was during the second period, and the doctor that was delivering me was like watching the TV. So they had to like wheel my mom into a separate room where there was no TV because the doctor and my dad weren't paying attention.
That's
they were
fantastic.
Just watching the game.
That's great.
Does that make you a hockey fan too?
Well, not now because the Wings suck, but kind of like with Dylan a little bit. Like for up until these last like 5 years, the Wings had made 23 consecutive playoff appearances. You win the cup in 2008, one of the happiest moments of my life. But the way that Dylan looks at 2013 for the Spurs and Ray Allen is how I look at the 2009 Stanley Cup Game 7 in Detroit, a series that I think about probably once a week. I can tell you everything about those final 3 minutes. Haunts me to my core. We should have gone back to back. I'm not so much a Wings fan anymore. It's obviously Pistons first. Matthew Stafford's like the best quarterback of all time. So big Lions guy.
That was a great weekend for you, Nick.
Yeah, I was so disappointed that I almost had to like mute you because the fact that there was anything Bears positive related.
I didn't say anything positive until I said nothing positive. I was crushing Trubisky.
You're right. Cause you said something about like, can we get some Trubisky magic?
Oh, I said the Lions are going to lion. That probably got underneath your skin.
Well, cause you were right. Like I read it and I was like, he's probably right. But I'm like 23-6. It can't happen at this point. Like I'll be honest. I can talk about a lot of things. I'm still not emotionally ready to really jump into this. Because it's still a little bit raw for me. All DeAndre Swift had to do was look the ball in, and it's game.
Tough moment.
And that's the moment that sets the tempo for everything going forward.
Yeah.
It's DeAndre Swift. People are going to remember they dropped that pass in the first game of his career.
Yeah.
Just by the way, a heads up here with 5 minutes to go in a little bit over 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. We're going to have a former Chicago Bull, B.J. Armstrong, former Warrior, former Hornet. But really, come on. He's a former Bull coming up here at halftime. So stick around for a little BJ, who was like that. That was my off the board, not best player on the team dude that I rooted for. Like I was straight. It was BJ and Pax were, splitting point guard duty, and Pax was always starting, and I was always rooting for BJ to get past him. Do you guys have somebody like that in your rooting interest where you felt like, I don't know, you were with him from day one before he was, putting up big numbers, hitting big shots?
That's a great question.
Kawhi.
That's a good one.
It's Kawhi. I mean, people were just like, oh, this guy plays really good defense. I was like, no, he's different.
Yeah.
Just wait on it. It's coming.
Yeah. And Dylan, if you have anybody else, please, by all means, go ahead. I really don't know. It's going to take me a second.
See, I'm still deciding on who it is these days because there's a couple guys I'm pulling for. I mean, DeJounte Murray has been one of my favorite players for a couple years just because of the intensity and the heart he plays with. But
I'm there with Lonnie Walker. Can I say that?
Lonnie is that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but for me, like, I can't really say Luke Kennard yet. He's not really there yet.
Spencer Ford on the chat is saying Luke Kennard. Hunter saying Steph. Josh Wilson has just thrown compliments left and right. Carmen, some children on the stream. You two are the children. It's more like young adults and old man. Thank you, Wilson. Can't wait for you to be on the stream.
Yes, me too. Josh, if you're still watching, which I assume you are, I mentioned today that I really was looking forward to whenever you're able to hop on here. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Also, shout out to Spencer Ford. Thank you for watching, Spencer. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would say Luke Kennard. I don't really know that there's anybody. We haven't had too many success stories in Detroit recently, and not even as a joke, but
Kawhi for 3, Clippers are up 10. Keep going.
The ones that we've had, we've traded away. Chris Middleton, Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, we have these guys who you look at, and at the time, admittedly, I didn't care about either. But look how wrong we were. And would they have panned out to be these same exact players? Maybe not. But they were at least capable of it. It was in there somewhere for them, right? So for me, I don't really know if I have anybody. Dylan, let me ask you this. I have this theory because I'm a Michigan State fan. Obviously, I grew up in Michigan my whole life. So
Woo! Gary Harris for 3, 9-point game.
Shout out to Gary Harris, Michigan State guy. Bryn Forbes is a guy who, coming into the league, I was like, San Antonio is probably the best place for him. And I still believe that because I think it's the only place where he could really play, and all the love in the world for him. But I just feel like if he wasn't in San Antonio, he wouldn't be in the league. What are your thoughts there?
I think he's the kind of guy that can be toward the end of the bench on a pretty competitive team and come in and just hit some threes. If there's one thing that I have to give him credit for, it's all of the work that he's put in. He's notorious for being one of the hardest workers on that team.
Yeah.
To get to the point where he is, when quite frankly he shouldn't be, he's an undersized 2-guard who's, he can't play defense, to be honest, because of his physical limitations. But that guy can shoot the heck out of the ball, and I appreciate all that he's done. His contract is now expired, and I do not wish for him to return.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the Spurs community feel that way as well, because he just can't play defense. And This team was so bad defensively that they need to shift gears. I think, Keldon Johnson was amazing in the restart. He needs minutes immediately. Obviously, Lonnie is on his way up. Derek White got that starting role in the restart.
Yeah,
those minutes need to go elsewhere, and we saw that when he was off the floor, this team is actually pretty damn competitive. So
absolutely,
that's the next step.
Just for the record, I'm rattled that Nick was going to mute me on Sunday. I will never mute you, Nick. You can go on Pistons, Deep, Bulls, Trolls. I'll never hit that mute button. Just know I've got you, buddy.
Listen, here's the thing. It has nothing to do with you as an individual, but if because this, I tweeted 2 hours before it happened, before the fourth quarter happens.
Just know that. Listen, you're worried about Daryl Morey. I'm worried about Hinkle. I'm not worried about pedestal general managers. I'm worried about the real people. You're the real people. That'll rattle me. Continue. Go ahead.
Well, it did make me smile is when you added me, you said greatest Raptor of all time after Kyle Lowry was popping off. That made me smile. I was like, yeah, I remember that too.
See?
But no, it was just at that moment, Trubisky, I had tweeted that Mitch is so bad that it legitimately pisses me off how bad he is. And then of course the Lions make him look like, a first ballot Hall of Famer, as is customary. So anything related to the Bears, I couldn't stomach it at that moment.
Kawhi fadeaway off the rim, no good. 11-point game. Can we give playoff Kawhi some serious love? I mean, I hate to I don't know, state the obvious here, but in the biggest games, this dude just shows up enormous. Dylan, does that hurt your feelings when I say that?
Not anymore. It did last year. Last year, it was like the most commonly used analogy is when you see a car wreck, you can't not look. Yeah. But it's the same thing.
So,
it's Kawhi's success is so hard to stomach, especially it was the first year off of the trade, but then his greatness is too good to look away from.
So when the shot goes up against the Sixers, you're rooting for it to not go in.
This is what I was going to ask too.
See, I trained myself over the course of that playoff run and even the first series to just not have any emotion at all, and just try to take in the basketball. Because at the end of the day, whatever team it is, it's still basketball. It's the game that I love more than anything.
Yeah,
so I gotta appreciate it.
That's a very rational perspective right there. But like, your heart is your heart. It's a very powerful mover and shaker that cannot allow you to get to your head sometimes, if that makes sense. Like,
it took a while.
Right. I mean, I don't know if Nick could ever get over Chauncey Billups doing something to his Pistons.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
This is gonna get me. I hope that like Duncan's not in here. I hope that there aren't any Pistons fans in here. It would hurt more if Blake left and won.
What?
Because, I swear to God, because when I was growing up, I didn't understand. I think we talked about, I was 6 when the Pistons won. I remember.
Okay.
So it's like Chauncey, to me, when he got traded, I remember vividly crying. I honest to God remember crying. Same thing happened when the Lions traded Roy Williams. But I was more attached to Rip. And right now, when like my basketball, I guess, fandom is at its peak, I love Blake so much and obviously, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a hyperbole, but for me, if Blake left and did anything productive, I'd be happy for him, or Stafford for that matter. My heart would shatter and I would never get over it.
Landry Shamet, by the way, back in the game from the locker room, he was getting treated for that ankle. So back out there.
My perspective on the situation with Kawhi leaving was a little different, because it's not like he would leave and have great success where he wouldn't have had that with the Spurs. If Kawhi stayed in San Antonio, I mean, they would have been competing for championships right now, in my opinion, especially just considering the way that front office nabs talent in the second round. So, it'll always stick with me a little bit. But at this point, it's like I just want to enjoy the game. Spurs aren't even in it. So what am I going to do? Just sit here and be grumpy? I mean, the Nuggets knocked the Spurs out last year. I'm not going to hold a grudge against them.
They're showing highlights of Marcus Boris being an idiot,
which is a bit of an oxymoron, because I just think that's just what he does, right?
Yeah, I do wonder though. Tough shot by Lou Williams, floater off the glass, no good. Try to tip it, couldn't come up with it. Nuggets basketball down by 6 as we edge towards Gary Harris, sweet lefty layup. 4-point game, as you can see. Wow. Look, I guess my point is that he very well could get himself suspended in the Western Conference Finals and lose a game, or just not be available for a game against the Lakers, because he's piling up technicals left and right here and still, pushing the limit, which would not be good, by the way. I don't trust that he'll be able to control himself, and that shouldn't necessarily matter. But it's gonna be all hands on deck if you're gonna do it. Wow. Tough shots being made all over the place here.
Absolutely.
Jamal Murray with another one.
Jamal Murray is really stepping up. To be honest, I didn't have a ton of faith in him heading into this postseason. I figured coming off an injury and just based on what I saw last year, he's so hot and cold.
Yeah.
But the whole postseason, he's been locked in, and I can't deny it anymore. Like, this guy is hitting another level, and who knows what happens at the beginning of the regular season next year. He could fall back to earth, but
right.
Come on, this guy does not miss.
One of the biggest factors in this individual game, if not the entire series, was what iteration of Jamal Murray are we going to be getting? And it turns out the one that went thermonuclear in the entire Jazz series against Donovan Mitchell, that's the one that we're getting as he put up his 20th point of the quarter, just the possession on the Nuggets' last possession of the half. So
Kawhi, Lou Williams, both missing threes, Harrell a tip. And this is a nightmare scenario really for the Clippers, who had a comfortable double-digit lead, and now it's a 2-point game at halftime. Anybody's ball game.
Clockwork with them right now. Absolutely, it's just clockwork blowing these leads.
Yeah. And I at some point here, I think whoa. Nick's dog
girlfriend came home, so he's a little bit excited.
What kind of dog?
He is a long-haired. Sorry, I guess that was probably really loud. He's a long-haired mini dachshund.
Can we get him on the screen here? Can we get a little?
When he settles down, because he's losing his mind right now. Once he calms down, I'll pick him up and I'll show you guys. He's small enough that I can just pick him up.
What does he think about Montrez's future with the Clippers?
What does my dog think about Montrezl Harrell? He's pretty indifferent. He's more of a Lakers guy, so he kind of, I guess, if anything, he just, I guess maybe he hopes that the Clippers get blown up.
All right, guys, I got to head out here.
All right. Are you coming back, Dylan, or are you done for the night?
I'm done for the night, but I really appreciate you having me on. This was a blast.
Dude, you were awesome. Man. Thank you for being here.
Definitely.
Appreciate
Before we go, I have one assignment, Nick. I want to see if you can get a hold of this.
Okay, absolutely.
I want you to find out how many cameos Ben Gordon has done in his life.
So the issue, I can do my best. You can make it so it's private. So if I pay him $800, I can make it so no one else can see it. Like maybe you're asking him a question that he doesn't, you know what I mean? So I can check publicly how many he has. And then we can sort of total how much money he's accrued from that. Cause I don't know that it's all that lucrative for him charging all that money, but I will, yes, sir. I will do my best.
Great. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Dylan, good work.
Good
Thanks for being with us. 56-54 at half as Dylan jumps on out. Nick and I are not going anywhere, and we're waiting on a special guest to jump on in here. Hopefully his Zoom is rocking. Have you checked out the Pushing Through podcast, by the way?
No, sir.
Yeah, BJ's been doing that for a little while now, so he's making his way in the media world, and he's also, you know, he's D Rose's agent and all that. You're a D Rose fan.
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah. I mean, I guess comparatively, this is kind of this is a point that I made. So like how the Lions have Adrian Peterson right now. Right. And it's like, man, you're like, he's still got it. Well, like the Pistons have Derrick Rose and it's like, man, like he's still kind of got it. I know a lot of the guys on the Lions were like, I cannot believe that like Rick Wagner is a good example. He's like, when Adrian Peterson was drafted, like I had his jersey and now I'm blocking for him. Like that's insane. I know with the Pistons, like a lot of guys were like, I cannot believe that Derrick Rose is actually on this team. So of course I'm not like, I know we spoke last time on the last stream about how there's a large contingency of
Nick's freezing up here. 56-54. I'm going through Twitter as I'm waiting for Nick to unfreeze.
Chicago sports fans who just like aren't like, they just like haven't. Of course, I love them.
This is a fascinating photo, by the way, to be frozen on Nick right there. I mean, look at that dude. Would you mess with that guy? Seriously, that guy is a force, and I'm looking forward to when he's unfrozen. But so how about this? Nick Wright was on the show our last live stream, and he's just tweeting, and I think it's worth mentioning. There have been 12 blown 3-1 leads in NBA history, 6 in the last 20 years. One of them involved prime Tracy McGrady, coached by Doc Rivers. One of them involved Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, coached by Doc Rivers. And, yeah, something to consider as we are at the half here, because that was – I mean, I don't want to put it on Doc as now I'm by myself here. Good to be with everybody. I don't want to put this all on Doc, but some of this is on Doc. It just has to be. Here comes my guy, BJ. It looks like he's about to connect on through here. I'm going to read that tweet to B when he comes on in here. I am worried that this is going to go the way of the Nuggets and we're not going to get our Clippers-Lakers Western Conference Final. BJ.
What's up, my guy? How you doing?
Good to see you. BJ, let me introduce you to Nick Hinkle, Detroit product, now living in Chicago, following the BJ Armstrong path in life.
Oh, nice. How you doing? Where'd you grow up, my friend?
I grew up, so it's right in between Detroit and Lansing. Well, first of all, good to meet you. Good to talk to you. It was a place called Howell. We're like the heart of Michigan. Yeah. Grew up there my whole life. Kind of like as I, got older and I lived in Lansing for a little bit with my girlfriend. We lived in Ypsilanti a little bit. Now we moved out to Chicago So that's where we are now. But yeah, Pistons my whole life.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting. I'll wear my bad boy shirt around here, and I get some pretty interesting looks on the street.
You might not know this, Nick, so you can guess at it. Who is BJ Titus with on the bad boy Pistons, who was recently on the Pushing Through pod that everybody should be checking out? Not recently, like 2 months ago. Recently,
I don't know. I do not know the answer.
Class act, great combo guard. Gave 23 in red some fits along with a lot of other guys.
Joe?
Yeah, I
Really? Wow. I was just talking about him the other day. It's shocking to me at this point. I don't mean to completely derail this, but just to give Joe Dumars some credit, not just as a player, but as an executive. The Sacramento Kings withdrew his name not for consideration, but in the search for a new general manager. And it's baffling to me that a guy who constructed a championship roster for Detroit can't get another job. And I know that the tail end of it was a little bit iffy, but really disappointing stuff because Joe is I believe my dad's all-time favorite Piston.
Oh, nice. Those are great teams, great era. And how lucky was that you got a chance to grow up and watch those Pistons teams? That was a great.
B, let's talk about tonight. What are you seeing in this game 7 here? The Clippers looked like they were, I don't know, finding themselves for a second, and now we got a 2-point game at the half.
Well, what's interesting when you watch this game is, the 3-point shot is really kind of creates a different way to view the game because they know, when I say they, the Denver Nuggets know that they can get a shot off because they have a player in Jokic that's allowing them to create space on the floor. And a lead 18, 19, 20 points in a game like this, now you're talking about 5 or 6 shots, right? 5 or 6 shots, that's 15, 18 points. And they can do that in a hurry. So when you have the ability to create a shot at any given time in the playoffs, that allows you to play with a certain amount of freedom. They're relaxed as they're playing because they know they can get a shot anytime. Okay, and the LA Clippers are a team. They're built around defense, but against this particular player being Jokic, he is a major problem. Why? Why is he a problem? Because he not only can score in half court, which you don't see often in today's game.
Right.
He can shoot the 3 as literally a stretch 5, and he can do it with an incredible amount of accuracy. So it's really creating a problem with how the LA Clippers are going to defend them because they don't know if they should help, if they should switch, if they should try to help and recover. And whatever they do, Jokic is capable of making adjustments, and he's playing spectacular basketball. And that's the problem that the Clippers haven't been able to fix now for 7 games or 6.5 games.
So if you were in the Doc Rivers seat, B, what would you do?
Well, I think watching Jokic, it would force me to do the following. First thing is I would never allow him to bring the ball up freely and just initiate the offense. All right. So, and in all truthfulness, this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. Okay. I've seen some great passing bigs, but I've never seen a great passing big who can pass on the move. He's passing literally on the move. This guy is like leading the break. He catch it on the double team.
Yeah.
He can reverse the ball. He can take on a double team, and he can pass with both hands. I've never seen this before. So I can't tell you what I should do. My instincts tell me is that I should go zone against the guy. Because I literally can't do anything about it. If I put Zubac on him, he's too clever. He shouldn't be able to go around Montrezl Harrell, but he is going around him.
Yeah.
So this is a problem like I've never seen before because the guy is just, at first I thought he was just playing out of his mind for one game. No, this is who he really is now. Yeah. The guy is like literally, he's a star. He's a top 10 player in the NBA. And this is a problem. There's nothing that the Clippers can do if they continue to play man-to-man. I would go zone. I would do some type of gimmick defense like you saw Nick Nurse do last year in the finals. I would go zone in 1. I would do something that would try to throw them off their rhythm because clearly the Denver Nuggets know they can get a shot off anytime they want to, and they're playing with an incredible amount of confidence. And no one should be playing this confident against a Clipper team because they're the best defensive team, in my opinion, in the league.
See, that's exactly what I said. Right as at the top of the broadcast here is I said the most interesting thing to me with these last few games between the Clippers and the Nuggets is, and it's the same thing that happened to Milwaukee, is we look at this Clippers team all year as somebody who, if they're not the best team, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, right? Well, in these last 3 games, we've seen their defensive identity not just lacking, it's completely gone, and their ball pressure is just completely lacking. And they're pretty much able to get off Denver. Is it pretty much able to get off any shot that they'd like? And I think to me, the most almost infuriating thing about watching Jokic is that there's almost hardly a rhyme or reason to anything that he does. Like, nothing he does is necessarily pretty, right? Like, he had a shot 20 feet from the basket. He just kind of goes over his right shoulder. The ball just goes up and it never even touches the rim. Like, the dude just, it's all net every single time. It's like gracefully chaotic, everything that he does on the floor, but he's so effective. And he's so impactful. And it's like I said, it's almost frustrating to watch, but obviously he's been tremendous, and Jamal Murray especially in that second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, I would love to tell you, you know, and watching the game. I've been watching the pro game for quite some time now, well, you know, 30 years or so. This is the first time I've seen a player like this. Yeah, this is a very unique player, and he's a unique talent, and he's very unique because of his ability, not because he can score, it's because he can pass the ball. He's passing the ball off the move. Like, so if you think of great passers, you'll think of, let's say, Bill Walton. Bill Walton wasn't moving like this guy. Yeah. This guy is passing and moving. Like, he's leading the break. He's screen, roll, catching it, diving, swinging. He's just doing things that's so unorthodox that the defense doesn't know how to react to him, because we've never seen a player like him. And I don't think that the Clippers aren't playing good defense. It's just that we're seeing a 5-man in positions we've never seen a 5-man before.
I think I sleep on him because he can't get off the ground, and I'm totally missing like his impact just simply because of that he's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to give it to him down low ever, and he's just gonna power over something. That's not what he's gonna do. But I guess it's completely irrelevant. He doesn't need to do that. He does 7 zillion other things.
Yeah. So the one thing about today's bigs that's more important than just scoring on the box is they have to have the ability to pass the ball. Yeah. Because of the 3-point line. So if you just gave it to Shaq and Shaq scores 7 out of 10 times, and you go, oh my God, he was 7 out of 10. That's 70%. That's incredible. He's the most dominant player ever. Okay. But if I go, if I make 4 threes, right, now I got 12 points. Yeah. So you have to have a balance of the 2 and the 3. Jokic has the perfect balance, because when he doesn't shoot it, he can pass it to make the 3, which offsets just him shooting 2s and be a dominant low post player. So, and if you look at Giannis, that's the difference right now between him and Giannis. That's just the difference between him and Giannis, is that this guy, Giannis, shoots an incredible percentage from 2. But what this guy is doing is not only he shoots an incredible percentage from 2, he's shooting a 3. So his true shooting percentage is probably, 60, 70%, which is like unheard of. Right.
What do you think happened with the Bucks?
The Bucks just had one major problem. Their system, they couldn't play their system against a team that figured out what they were doing. All right. So what makes them in the regular season a great defensive team? They contest every shot. So we all know that as long as you contest the shot, especially at the rim. Okay. So you say, well, what does that mean? If you watched how they play, Brook Lopez is literally a one-man zone. Statistically, he was the best defensive center in the league because he contests every shot at the rim. And then that allows Giannis to be the athlete that he is, which he can block the shot. And they always run you off the 3s. They always run you off the 3s. Okay. But then you found a team, Milwaukee, all right, that just knew how to counter Brook Lopez. They countered Brook Lopez with Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, Miami.
So
right.
Bam became literally a facilitator at the 5.
Yeah.
So they didn't play Myers Leonard. So they played a guy who Brook Lopez had to guard. So he couldn't just like defend at the rim. So then Jimmy Butler can drive to the rim. And then they have the spacers, Duncan and these guys. So he had to make a choice. And whatever choice he made, they just did the opposite. So they knew that, and they just countered what they were doing. And Milwaukee never adjusted. Milwaukee was like, well, we got the best record in the league. We'll just keep playing through it. And Miami was like, no. And Miami they shut it off.
Yeah.
And everybody know it, but you got to be good enough to execute it.
It seemed almost like Boston shut it off tonight, by the way. I mean,
shut off
what plan? Or I don't know how you, whatever happened down the stretch. And it was
a really good game. I mean, they hung around. They just hung around. So the Miami they're good enough to hang around because they're a defensive group.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get a stop on the defensive end. They just hung around. Like, you don't have to shoot the ball well.
When it's okay, how about this? In overtime, when Boston has to have a bucket, it didn't seem to me like they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They're getting tough shots with the hand in his face with Tatum on the wing, and I'm like, is this really the best offense that you guys have when you absolutely have to have a hoop? Am I missing something?
Well, when you in those situations, you got to give the ball to your best player and get out of his way. So, I mean, if you look at those two plays, Miami just gave the ball to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy made him tonight. And then the other guy, Jason Tatum, could have easily made him too. There's no secret to it. So here's the offense. Get a ball to your best player. And in the Chicago, you get a ball to Jordan. If you're in Detroit, you get a ball to Isaiah Thomas. You get a ball to your best player and you get out of his way. Now, Jimmy made him tonight. and Jason Tatum missed him. That's how it's supposed to be. That's
right.
There's no offense, my friend, in that situation.
I mean, even going back a little bit just to the Milwaukee series, you talk about putting the ball in your best player's hands. Well, that almost was Milwaukee's problem to a point, because in Game 4, Giannis twists his ankle and he tweaks it, and it eliminates his ability to effectively get to the rim as quick and as powerfully as he normally would. And it caused him to decide to pull up from 3 on 6 separate occasions.
Jokic, by the way, a sweet pass down the lane for another layup for Gary Harris as I'm watching BJ's breakdown here. Look at how Jokic is impacting everything. Go ahead, Nick. My bad.
When that is exactly what Miami is trying to bait him into doing, is taking those 3-pointers, right? And I know that he can hit them, right? We all watched that Lakers game in December when Giannis hit 5 of them in transition, contested, hands in his face. But there's a point when it's like, Giannis, sometimes, like, I know that you want to be that guy in those pressure moments and you want to come up big for your team, but whether it was him or Chris Middleton had an exceptional Game 4. I'm sorry, it was Game 3 that I was talking about with the 3-pointers, not Game 4. I know Chris came up big in Game 4 after Giannis got hurt. And then BJ, to your point, Mike Budenholzer failed to make a lot of adjustments. That was a really big thing. You can't dig your heels in the playoffs and look back at how you played in the regular season. You're 100% right. And then expect that it's going to work without making any adjustments. And his lineup management wasn't great either. It's Game 3 and Dante DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton, and Kyle Korver are all on the floor at the exact same time late in the game. Wesley Matthews fails to check in, the only person who was ever really equipped to effectively deal with Jimmy defensively. And Bud just kind of forgot that he was on the bench, and it was infuriating to watch. It was a little bit, the one thing that I wonder is, like, after Game 2, right, you wonder a little bit if Jimmy doesn't get fouled there, and it goes to overtime, right? Milwaukee, and Mark, we talked about this. Milwaukee had no business being in that game, period, right? They were lucky that they were lucky that Chris Middleton got that foul call. God bless his soul, he hit those free throws. You wonder how the momentum shifts. And I think ultimately Miami was always going to be the scariest matchup for Milwaukee in the playoffs. But I always wonder if Milwaukee was able to pull it out in Game 2, had it gone to overtime after, like, the dumbest foul call I've ever seen in my life, how things would have played out. But we've been saying since, like, January that Miami was really the team based on their ability to, distribute the ball and hit from the perimeter. The one thing that Milwaukee always struggled to do a little bit this season, we knew that this was almost inevitable in a way.
Hey, B, before you get out of here, I appreciate you taking time. Always great to see you. Who do you think is the tougher matchup for the Lakers?
Well, the Clippers are tough. I mean, they're tough just based on just their group, right? They have a tough group. I really like their group. This Denver team is a very resilient team, and it's not, I said coming down, I would not be surprised if a team won it that we're not even anticipating. And the reason being, it could easily be Miami. It could easily be Denver, right? I don't know how many people were picking them to win it before they started. And the reason being is because you need depth. Depth is the key to winning this tournament, because that's basically what it is. It's a tournament. Whoever wins this, whoever's crowned champion this year, this would be one of the most impressive things I've seen, just because of the circumstances that they're playing under. The Denver Nuggets, they're just a very, very deep team. They're deep. The Miami Heat, they're a very deep team. They're just, so they have enough bodies to where they can play every other day in this type of environment, and they can just wear you down. And both of these teams, they're good enough defensively. And in the case of Denver, offensively, they're a juggernaut. I mean, really, anyone who's watched the game, fans, you're looking at them, when I watch Jokic, he's like charming to me, because he shouldn't be doing what he's doing, but he has a certain charm about how he does it, right? We all say, well, he's not the athlete. How's he doing this? But he does it. Yeah. He's not very fast, but he gets around everybody. He's the most charming player that I've ever seen, because, when he lost all that weight, when he came back this year, I was like concerned. I was like, he might've lost some of his charm, I was a little afraid, but he still plays big. Still plays, you can't speed him up. Great shot fake, skilled, mid-range, post, three. He's just a very, very, he's like a player I've never seen. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those teams. But if you ask me, just based on my knowledge, I would say the Clippers, just because, they look like the best defensive team to me. And I always look for that side of the ball first. And but I think they should win it. But, this Denver team is, it's a different set of circumstances.
Jokic just knocked down another jumper.
Before BJ, I know you got to get going. I do have one question I'd like to ask you, though. You didn't shoot free throws at a high volume by any means throughout your career, but you were still, if memory serves, an 85% guy from the line. You see today, whether it's even LeBron, whether it's Luka, whether it's Giannis, you see these major players who often struggle from the free throw line. Do you have any insight as to why that is, why that trend is happening? And if you think it's going to, I don't really know, I guess, where the question is, but why do you think this is happening?
Why players struggle from the free throw line?
Yeah, because you were, as somebody who was so good at it, as so efficient, you were, these guys who are as effective as they are, obviously James Harden's great. But these key players aren't good. What's going on? Just
for the record, I could imitate a BJ Armstrong free throw right now. He's a little bit off center on the left side. The right arm is dead on, straight up, and there's a 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounce, and a good pause and wham. Am I missing anything?
You got it. That's it. Well, I think. It's a variety of reasons. One, I think that to be a good free throw shooter, you have to learn how to pause and collect yourself, right? I think you're playing scatter. But the good free throw shooters, if you ever watch them, they always pause, right? They always pause and grab their breath, right? They can control their breath. So the way I look at free throw shooting is kind of like a sniper. You got to learn how to control your breath before you can shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. You got to be able to, control your breath.
We're hoping. And here comes B. And I'm like, can I rebound for you? All right. Maybe I just started doing it. And so BJ is shooting little 3-footers around the rim, then 5-footers, then 10-footers, then the free throw line, and going out and out and out. Now everybody's walking in the gym. So I'm feeding you this whole time, B. I'm sure you remember this like it was yesterday. I'm sure it meant the same view as it did to me. And so now you're out the 3-point line. He's going around. Whap, the whole time. And so I'm having the time of my life. The whole team's in there. I get to be the ball boy. And then Phil Jackson kicked me out of practice. All right, he can get it. He can get his own ball now. I'm like, Phil, I'm doing a great job. Well, the guy's gonna have a great practice today.
I need that 10-day now.
Yeah, I mean, why can't I get on the ball boy gig here? I'm giving best effort, but Phil booted me. So
I'm surprised Phil let you stick around that. He never lets anybody come in practice.
Maybe you didn't notice. Maybe I was faking. Maybe I had my bull shorts on. Hey, last one. I talked to John Starks yesterday. He was pro.
Oh, okay.
So we had a little bit on the dunk. I said that B got fouled on that play. Patrick, should have been whistled. That play shouldn't have counted, but neither here nor there. But he talked about the freedom that guys have nowadays to cross half court and just let it fly. What would you have done with your game if you could have crossed half court and I can shoot a 35-footer? How do you think that would have changed the way you approached, the way you played offense back in the day? If you were playing right now with the freedom to, be just, if we got 5 out and you can shoot from anywhere, if you can make them, go ahead.
Great question.
Well, playing for stats and all those things is one thing, right? There are these guys shooting, and I think that is a great question. But certainly everyone shouldn't be shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, when you come into this league, you develop good habits and you develop bad habits. I came in and I was very lucky, very fortunate that I was able to play the game at a championship level. I was very fortunate. And once you learn to play the game at a championship level, you learn how to play the game with a certain amount of responsibility. Just coming down and shoot a shot because you can doesn't mean that you should shoot that shot.
Right.
Michael Jordan, who had the ultra green light, he always shot over 50% because he played the game with a certain amount of responsibility that you have to the game if you're going to play the game at the highest level. So, Steph Curry changed the game for a lot of people, but because he gave you a way to look at the game and say, oh, I could potentially do that. It's like when you watch Jordan, you saw like, oh, wow, I could possibly do that. But the thing that they forget was Steph Curry was shooting the ball with such accuracy that's what made him effective.
Right.
See, so you're right. A lot of these guys can shoot the ball, but I didn't shoot the ball just to shoot it. I had to make it. So Steph Curry is making these shots. These guys are just shooting these shots. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not caught up in the fact that they just come down and shoot. Okay, well, now they're playing the game at a different pace than the previous generation did. It doesn't make it right or wrong. They're just playing the game at a different pace.
Be great to see you. Yeah. You had more. My bad.
Yeah. But no. So, but the thing that impresses me is guys who have the responsibility to take shots that they know they can make.
Yeah.
Now you're just seeing all these people shoot. You're just seeing all these people shoot now. And that to me is what makes the difference between the game yesterday and today. You have more and more players who are more capable shooters, but that still doesn't mean that they all should be shooting.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So
yeah, PJ, if you were firing away there and it wasn't going in, he should
take you out.
Yeah.
It's just a different. Listen, it's just a different game now. And you watch. When you watch the Houston Rockets play, you go, "Wow, that must be nice." They'll shoot 63s in a game.
Yeah.
Right. That's like, okay, yeah, that's probably fun to play in, but how responsible is that? What's the responsibility? So, Steph Curry is unique, but I haven't seen another player like that come around. that's able to shoot with that level of accuracy. You know, him and Klay Thompson are just unique players, but it doesn't mean that you are the same player just because, you know, the coach said you have the green light to shoot it. So, you know, it's just a different era right now.
Everybody should check out the Pushing Through pod. Everything else you're doing, B.
Oh, man, appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, man. Let's do this again. This was fun. I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Thanks for being on. We loved it. It was great to see you. We'll do it for sure.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of tonight, B.
You guys be good. Okay. Yep.
BJ Armstrong. Sean Daly, what's up, man?
What's going on, Carm?
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Your thoughts so far here? Are Denver going to pull this off 76-70?
I mean, I think they could. I'm worried about if they make it to the next round, would I rather the Clippers play them? Just because who's going to guard Anthony Davis at this point? I've seen Jokic let Harrell get to the rim a bunch of times on just like a missed assignment. I think they could win this game. I'm just worried that they'll get swept next round.
Yeah. Would y'all like that Phil Jackson, BJ Armstrong, Carm ball boy story?
That's a great story. And I think the funniest part to me was the little like, yeah, BJ, I know you definitely remember this as well as I do.
Yeah.
Roughly like how old were you when that happened?
Well, let's see here. I mean, 16.
Oh wow, so that was yeah,
nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they used to it was unbelievable. The Bulls, we would be, first of all, those guys would come around in the summer too.
Yeah.
So like they would be playing pickup. Like I played with, I was going to tell, I was debating which story I'm going to tell her, but I played with BJ. We're playing, and we used to play the width 4-on-4. And so we're coming down and he kicks it to me and I rise up, shoot the shumper. And he's like, as it's in the air, it's like 8-4. Like he counted dude counted my hoop before it went. I'm like, hold on, that dude's in the league counting my bucket. Like I'm never gonna hit an athletic peak higher than that. And and it went in. Like I'm like, so, and then they got their own facility and all that ended. But they would be hanging out in the summertime. Though it was different back then. Like they were losing to Detroit, and so it was just. Scotty was young, Horace was young. They were all young, and they all needed to get bigger. So they'd be sitting there lifting weights. And during the year, I mean, most times you'd be in school, so you couldn't. I shouldn't have been going to school. I would have been better off, just going to Bulls practice. But they would be practicing. Eventually they put a curtain so you couldn't watch practice. But when it first started, there was no curtain. You could literally, like, these guys were. It was right in front of you. There's Mike and Stacey King. He's like throwing. He's dumping a bucket of water on Stacey King, and Stacey King's chasing him around the practice facility. It was awesome. By the way, here, the Clippers are in trouble, y'all. 2:15 to go here in the third, 78-70. I've been paying as close attention, but I thought what BJ was talking about, Jokic, was interesting. I've been sleeping on this dude. I don't know if you all have been, but the impact is obviously enormous here.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw, Sean or Mark, I don't know if you guys saw the graphic. The first player to ever record a triple-double in the first 3 quarters in the history of a Game 7. So I think that's a pretty good indication of like where we're at with Jokic. Like if you're not paying attention, if you haven't been paying attention, this is real. It's not a fluke. Like what BJ was saying, like it's something that we just haven't seen before. And like I said this, it just feels like there's no rhyme or reason to anything that he does because none of it's pretty. Like at all, but everything works. Like all the passes are great. All the like defensively, and like BJ said, he gets around everybody. And the biggest thing is, and I said this too, I swear he has never hit the rim in his life. Everything is just a complete splash. Like it's insane. Sean, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Just a side note, stepping back real quick, Carm, it looks like NBA water boys make $58K, so I think you should.
Right.
That's not a bad career path.
Right. Why can't I? That's. I mean, that's you get your summers off too. Most years, minus a pandemic.
Yeah, I imagine some free tickets.
Yeah, drive an Uber or whatever I would do on the to augment that 58, get that into the 70s, and we're good.
That's a great question. Is like, so the players get tickets reserved for them. Is there a level of a water boy where you get like 2 tickets set aside for you so the family can, you know what I mean? Like,
So working for a team, I believe you get 2 tickets. At least that's the way it was in football.
that's amazing.
John Ligmanowski's been the Bulls equipment manager since the Bulls were the Bulls. I mean, that guy's, I'm sure he's got 4 box seats every game. And he's got 6 dudes that are, have to pick up all the laundry. And Ligmanowski just hangs out, wears cargo shorts, walks around. Guy's got a great gig. Why can't I be Ligmanowski?
I was talking to my girlfriend the other day. This is not even about basketball because you just mentioned cargo shorts. That I wish cargo shorts would come back.
They're such a bad look. It's such a bad.
Dude, I don't care. They're so practical.
There's so many pockets.
Yes.
All right.
You can wear them. Be your own dude. I mean, what shirt are you wearing tonight? That's not exactly.
I got the floral going. The
right.
Yeah. I made a conscious decision. I was wearing a Spurs basketball shirt, and I said no. I need something different, and so I had to get all dressed up. I put this on.
So that was a sweet pass by Jokic, layup good. 8-point game. Wow.
Do we think strange, somewhat applicable question? Do we think he's gained all the weight back that he lost?
Doesn't it look like he has? Like BJ pointed it out that he lost a bunch of weight, and I was like, "You're right, he did." I remember everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, slim Jokic," and I was like, "That looks weird," but you're right, he looks kind of chonk again. Like I don't know.
I like it though.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of my favorite athletes being thick with 2 C's.
Making some invites here. We might get one more special guest here on the old live stream. No promises.
I can't imagine what your contacts look like. Let me ask you this, and Sean, the question can be for you too. I guess we can ask you first while Mark wraps that up. Who's like a Twitter follow that you have, if any, that you are like blown away by?
I'm not the biggest on Twitter.
Okay.
Probably the best name drop I have in my phone contacts is former Chargers center Nick Hardwick. That's probably the best I got.
How did that even? How?
Just I've interned for a couple teams.
Oh, okay.
Weird stuff, but yeah, probably the best one I got.
That's something. Mark, what about you? Whether phone contact or someone who follows you on Twitter.
I just can't get over that Ashley Young is just straight trolling me with my reaction to learning that you guys were born in '98. When were you born, Sean?
92.
Okay. See, I can handle a 92. Like 98 is like yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it was 22 years ago, but yeah.
I mean, I am just, I am seeing that rear view mirror getting longer and longer, if that makes any sense. This is tough. 6-point game, by the way, as the Nuggets hit it, I'm behind our scoreboard. I see that. So it's going to be an 8-point game going to the 4th here. I got a special thing that I got to show you all, but you got to hang out for 1 second. All right, I'm gonna have a big reveal. I want to give thanks to Michelob Ultra. So give me a second. All right.
Okay.
All right, hang on.
Let's hold it down for just a second, Sean. Let's get familiar with each other a little bit and let the viewers know a little bit about you. Who is your team? Who do you root for? Are you? Because I write for Piston Power and I'm a basketball writer. What do you do? What are you about?
I'm a video editor for FanSided, video producer, writing edit stuff.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I grew up outside Philadelphia. Big Sixers fan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But maybe Mike D'Antoni, possibly.
Oh God,
you don't think?
Bad
idea.
No, you should not want Mike D'Antoni. Let me ask you this. I could ask Josh Wilson this, and I'm sure he'd say yes. But since you're right here. And Josh is afraid he's non-committal. He won't join these. He's too scared. But shout out to Michelob Ultra.
Nice.
Is it true that Sixers fans hate the Sixers more than like other people?
I mean, we have a love-hate relationship with all our teams. I mean, we're the first to boo, and we're honest. I'd say that. I'd say we're honest. But. Also, just a side note about that.
Real fast, I want to Fulvio Sol Tolo. I hope I said that right. We want to say we'll interrupt what Sean's saying to say good morning to you from the UK. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead. He's a very excited Nuggets fan. Go ahead. It's 4 a.m. there. He's 4 a.m. and watching. We love you. Go ahead, Sean.
Nice. A according to my grandfather, that Santa Claus that we threw snowballs at was just a drunk who had made his way onto the field. That's a first-hand account.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
So I just want to give a thank you to Michelob Ultra. I got to do the fan experience, that we're all seeing in these games. So they invited me, and it was awesome. And so I pop in the live stream. There's Scottie Pippen. There's BJ. We're all watching the game. It was sweet. And then I get this today in the mail from my people at Michelob Ultra, which I just want to say thank you to. I mean, this is so. I opened this today, right? And first things first, I got the Scottie Pippen autographed sweet photo, right?
Wow.
So that was sweet, and I was super excited about that. But then I dug in a little further, and out came the Chicago Bulls.
Oh my!
Rookie Jordan jersey. Mike himself.
Wow.
Carm, did they get your size right?
It fits.
Nice.
And I'm like, look, I've gotten like I used to go to this hot dog stand called Mustard's Last Stand, and they bought me a hot dog once, and I was, because they're like, had heard me on the radio in Chicago, and I was like, I've really made it. But when Michelob Ultra
they send you a Michael
sent
Jordan
me a Jordan jersey, this is like, I mean, I nothing's ever made me happier as my thing falls off.
That's living. That's living right there. That's
the cursive. Oh my!
So thank you to all y'all at my new favorite beer forever and ever.
I got a DM from the Tigers today. I won like a little prize pack from them. There's like 20 items in it or something. There's like a koozie and just a bunch of other little Detroit Tigers memorabilia. So is it as cool as getting a script Bulls jersey? Nope. But
right?
That's cool, man. That's cool.
I mean, I was like, the script you gave me the rookie year, which is like totally,
Is that the dunk contest jersey?
Dunk contest.
Yes, you got to get the chain like this so that way you can wear it just like Mike did.
Right. 28-2, 84-85. Lost to the Bucks in the open round of the playoffs, but 1-1 game. Carm was there. 1984. No, I don't think you guys were alive. All right. I was 11. We can all do the math on what we're dealing with here as I enter my elder years.
I'll leave the math alone. It's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But so anyway, thank you to it's been sweet to partner with Michelob Ultra during the playoffs, and we appreciated them. And we talked and to have Scottie Pippen on the podcast was awesome. Pip, he was blunt too. Scotty, is Giannis going to figure this out? This is before the Bucks got eliminated. Nope.
No.
I thought it was interesting what BJ had to say about the Bucks too.
He was articulate. Yeah, he had a lot to say. That was cool.
I mean, dude, that was some. He was spot on his analysis. It was amazing.
Absolutely. I want to just backtracking a little bit, Mark. We didn't get an answer to the at least maybe I forgot. Like the most like your like coolest contact or coolest Twitter follow or something.
I mean, for me, like growing up, Mr. Bull over here, like to be able to, text with BJ is fun, and Horace and Will Perdue and those guys. I love that stuff. That's good stuff. I don't know, Mike. Oh, Clippers missing dunks now.
Yep.
I'm not exactly, I don't know. Rolodex is a little thick over here. I gotta say.
I was gonna say you got a lot of names.
I got a lot of numbers, so I'm not sure who jumps to mind.
Let me ask you this then: who was the most recent person?
Humble brag, Carm, but that's disgusting. That was gross. I just made myself sick. Go ahead.
Maybe it doesn't happen to you as much anymore since you've been around it for so long. But has there been anybody, if not in recent months, in recent years, that you were a little bit starstruck by?
I mean, I try not to do that because then you end up if I get like whatever get an interview with Shaq, like I freaking love Shaq.
Yeah.
You know, but I can't act like, you know, like I can't. I don't want to be fanboy, but it's also like, oh sweet, you know.
Yeah.
He makes you feel comfortable though, doesn't he?
He does. He does. He totally does. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is don't do what I did when Nick Wright joined our stream and I like threw my hand. I started crying basically. What I'm hearing is don't do that.
No, I thought that was great. That was I thought, I'm serious. That was honest and real. What you don't want to do is try to do what I would do back in the day and try to get him to like you by, you know, telling a joke or something like that, which I did the first time I ever met Mike in a media thing, which was atrocious. Don't do that. I don't know. These guys, like they're so used to everybody putting them on a putting them on a pedestal that like it's just not interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
I almost reached out to you to tell you this. It's about 3-4 days ago. Something popped into my head. I remembered I had to look it up. So I looked up LeBron James underdog question. And I'm like, and you literally said, like, you introduced yourself. It's like Mark Carmen. I was like, oh my God, like, no way, that was actually him. And then I listened to the reply and I sent it to my brother and he's like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, yeah, like that's, so yeah, really small world. Really, really funny that was, that was you.
By the way, the Denver up 15. The Clippers are about to go out here, and you
got to give Kawhi the ball every possession. If I were them at this point,
I mean, Jamal Murray just hit a 35-foot.
He's doing Jamal Murray
32-foot three.
I mean, what BJ said was a really good point. I mean, at some point, like, you're going to have to start doing something gimmicky. If you're any team, like when you can't control them like this, like whether it's Nick Nurse using the box and one or just running zone, like which we're seeing a lot these days, like teams, I don't really know what the numbers would be as to how many times, you know, in a half court set teams are running zone per game. I don't even want to throw out a guess because I could be way off, but like now it just seems like we're seeing it so frequently where it's like a handful of times per quarter even. You're seeing teams sort of defer to it. And I guess at this point, back against the wall, I don't think this is really the right time for Doc Rivers to be pulling like the Phil Jackson, like, you guys figure it out. Like, I'm not going to, you know, and that's obviously not happening. He calls the timeout, but yeah, backs against the wall for the Clippers. And Sean's right. If it's not Kawhi, it's probably a bad shot right now.
It looks like zone usage is up this year from past years.
Exactly.
I just, you know, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the Clippers right now. They have not been together all year. And so many people have looked at, you know, you disagree, Nick? It's cool if you do.
I'm sorry. I was saying, like, you're right. Like, that was
Oh, I mean, whatever. You're welcome to shoot down every single damn take I have.
No, but you're right. You're right. You're right.
I appreciate. Okay, fine. So so you agree, and it's like so many people who follow basketball for a living have been predicting this team to beat the Lakers and to win win it all. And it's like, and I don't want to give props to my guy Nick Wright too much here, but in this one I've agreed with him the whole year. It's like they haven't. It's like, are y'all watching? These dudes have been scuffling. Now they were up 3-1 here, and I'm like, okay, they finally figured it out. I didn't see this coming in any way, shape, or form. So, but I'm also like not really like when they lost Game 5. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You're one win away from your matchup with the Lakers, and you're gonna dump that game, and then you lose Game 6. Wow. So, I mean, I don't think they have a miracle in them here. Do you all think they have a miracle?
I think here's the thing. Like, they didn't just lose Game 6. They weren't just up 19 points. What Denver did to them wasn't just a comeback. I mean, they came back, and then it turned out that, like, the Clippers, if you just look at the final score, it was as if they were never even in the game to begin with. It's absolutely insane. And I don't know if there's ever been a team in NBA history, something that I didn't think would take us until 8.5 minutes into the broadcast for us to actually, or in the game for us to bring up. has there ever been a team that has come back from 3-1 2 times in the playoffs? Because the Nuggets are about to do it again. They were down 3-1 to Denver. Like
3-1.
how did they keep doing this?
Not to Denver. The Nuggets were
I'm
down.
sorry, to Utah. Yeah.
To Utah, right.
You're right.
I'm like, my brain's most. I'm like, who were they?
I'm sorry. Yes. Utah.
Right. To Utah. I thought they were going to, I have never been, I'm like changing my whole opinion on Denver right now, which I'm sure a lot of people are doing. Like, I mean, you got to give these guys props. Sean, did you think that they were going to come back against the Jazz?
I mean, apparently they got everyone right where they want them when they're down 3-1. I was just once Jeremy Grant starts hitting 4 threes a game, like as long as they have a third guy that seems to go off. Although this game it seems to be a team effort.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as Jokic can kind of hang in defensively, I mean, the team is going to start heating up. It just seems like they need to get down before they put up any sort of effort, which is really strange. But they like their backs against the wall.
It's weird. It's a peculiar way to play basketball, but it really plays for them, man. It really works. And
how much credit does Michael Porter deserve
for lighting the fire in the post game presser?
He did something. Nick, you don't want to give. I don't want to give him credit either, but he.
As long as you admit that you don't want to, and Mark, I was just about to ask you to do this. Could you give us a very quick line update? Maybe a turnover disparity update as well, because it seems like Denver's cut down on that a lot.
Spencer Ford, by the way, you're right. The Nuggets are really about to do this. Lou Williams, Paul George for 3. Nope. Squeezed it a little too tight, up, in and out.
Are you guys as surprised as I am? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Mark. Are you guys as surprised as I am that Plumlee is still in the league? Not that he's bad, but it's like that he's actually useful.
I love the fact that you have thoughts about whether Mason Plumlee needs to be in the league. I think that's amazing.
Kept me up last night.
We need one in the league at all times. I think that's
true. Same with the Zeller brothers too.
That was not that Plumlee turnover was not Plumlee. So it's Kawhi, you just traveled and they didn't call it, and he wanted to foul and he didn't get it. And I think the Clippers, by the way, will be great next year. I really do. They'll figure it out, I think. But it's kind of they needed a full season to get that chemistry going, and it's just, I don't know, maybe the interruption hurt them too. Who knows? All right, here's the lines. Jokic has 19 rebounds, 11 assists, and 12 points. That's amazing.
Disgusting.
Jamal Murray's got 33. Harris and Grant also have 12. So you got 3 Nuggets with 12, and Jamal's having a night. The Clippers, Kawhi 6 for 20.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me because, I mean, we've been sitting here, and when you're doing the chat, you don't watch it as close as you know, really micromanaging it. But to me, like, I would not have. I thought he was shooting the ball well early, but I obviously not. 6 for 20 for 14. Montrezl Harrell has 14. Your only other Clipper in double figures is Paul George with 10, but he's 4 for 13. Lou Williams is 2 for 10. Clippers are 8 for 28 from the three-point line, 28%, 37% overall. Nugs are shooting 51%, 37.5 from 3. Free throw wise, Clips have shot 16. The Nuggets have shot 10. Denver's 9 of 10. Clips are 12 of 16. Turnover wise, Nugs have turned it over 18 times. Clippers have turned it over 8 times.
Man, okay. Maybe I was wrong then. I guess it's just pretty much the same basketball. I think actually it was after the first quarter that Denver was at 9. So I guess maybe they've cut down it a little bit because they're not on pace for 36 anymore. But you said the free throws were 10 to 16. That's really interesting that we haven't gone to the line that much for these two teams that are as, I guess, intense defensively as both of them are. I guess just disciplined, I guess, is the right word since there's been such a lack of free throws.
Yeah. By the way, people are wondering, Nick, do you have a photographic memory?
Are people wondering?
People are asking me, does Nick have a photographic memory? Like,
I don't mean to be. I just have one question. I don't mean to be nosy. Are they texts from like is this like a I don't know. Is Nick Wright like, wow, that guy's so cool, I should be his best friend?
It's not a Nick Wright text. I can't give you that much love. But not to say that he wouldn't have that take. He's probably not watching right now. But do you?
Which, first of all, I was kidding. But
oh, my bad.
I don't. Well, I mean, I know that I knew it wouldn't be that, but I don't know. I don't think so. I like to remember things, I guess. Yeah, I suppose. I guess because I was about to say, if it means that I can remember exactly where everything was at any given moment, then yes. But that is the exact definition of what it means. So I reckon. Yeah, probably. I guess. Yeah.
I'm sniffing it out. I'm sniffing it out. Did you get like a 1600 on your SATs?
I didn't take the SAT and I got an 18 on my ACT.
Oh, okay.
I didn't finish school. So
now I feel better. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. You knew you were going to be all hoops.
Yeah,
Sean,
I didn't need to do that. Yeah.
Sean, were you a good student?
I was all right. When I showed up, I was pretty good.
Yeah, kind of like that's like kind of like Paul George. If we bring it back to the Clippers, although actually he showed up and he's been in. I guess it's the same thing.
Hey,
what's up, dog? Jokic missing an easy layup here. Maybe that'll give the Clippers a little life. Although Denver still ends up getting the basketball as it goes off LA. 89-76, as you can see, with 6.5 to go here. Wow. Come on, LA. Give me one push. Now the whole world's writing you off right now. One time.
Sean, you missed it earlier where Mark admitted that he did wager an unspecific amount of money on the Clippers in this game. But that is why he is rooting so heavily for the Clippers here. I'm kidding. That's not actually why. I just keep making that joke.
It's nice to figure out which of your coworkers are degenerate gamblers.
Yeah. So, and right here it's Mark. Yeah.
It almost feels like, and obviously they can make a run and make me look like an idiot, but it almost feels like last year's Clippers team had better chemistry.
Marcus Morris missing an open three. I mean, maybe they did. I think they actually definitely did.
Yeah, I just agree with that. Yeah.
Because we applauded Doc Rivers for his coaching job last year, and it almost seems the opposite this year.
I love Doc, but I've never thought creative genius or I've always just looked at him, class act, good dude,
great X's and O's guy. Yeah.
Yeah, X's and incredible competitor,
motivator. Yeah,
but adjustments. I don't know. Although
I believe that sorry, just real quick, I believe that missed shot. Yeah, 0 for 10 in the quarter for the Clippers. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
0 for 10. Wow. I mean, that's the thing too. You get down and you're in the fourth of a game 7. That shot's not exactly going to fly free. Denver's 2 for 10, by the way. If they were hot, this game would be really, really over.
It's starting to hit me how insane this is. I'm getting this really weird feeling where it's like, I guess I'm a little bit speechless, which is difficult for that to happen to me, but I'm struggling to understand how this is happening.
I mean, me too. I don't I'm trying to figure out what this looks like in the Western Conference Finals. Are they just going to get smoked? I mean, the LA Clippers are gonna walk out of this bubble going home feeling just awful, I would think. Although they probably
with a bucket at the rim that may or may not have been a foul.
I mean, say what you want about the load management and keeping people fresh for the playoffs. They don't look comfortable together, honestly.
And they talked a lot of noise, this team. A lot of noise. Yeah. Pat Beverly, Kawhi in the lane, Raymond. Okay, now we get a tip dunk down low. All right, 13-point game.
1 for 12 from the field this quarter. And it's not that Denver's even much better. They're only 3 for 12, but.
What was wrong with Gary Harris? What injury was keeping him out?
I don't recall.
I feel like it was a foot injury. But that was a big thing coming into the playoffs when he was going to get healthy. Jokic
it's important to remember that the Nuggets don't even have Will Barton, one of their regular starters, and like maybe that I guess has sort of given a guy like Jeremy Grant like a better it allowed him to sort of evolve a little bit. But just I wonder how his addition would I guess impact this Nuggets team.
Yeah, well, they're going to need all hands on deck here to compete with a red-hot LeBron.
Who guards who? Like, does Grant guard Davis? Like, I don't even know.
I'd put
that's
I might
interesting.
get grilled for this. I don't know if I should say it.
Millsap?
Yeah, I was gonna say it would. I guess Millsap. I guess
the ghost of Paul Millsap.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some huge Denver Nuggets fans in our Minute Media family. I don't know if Matan's watching right now or Brad's watching right now, but these guys
for a little.
These guys are diehards. And now you're going to get a shot in the Western Conference Finals to take on LBJ, Anthony Davis.
Do you just look at it almost like how Portland last year, you almost forget that they were in the Western Conference Finals, but like they were there and then they just got rolled by, I believe, a Kevin Durant-less Warriors team, a depleted Warriors team, which was still great nonetheless, like 100%. Also, shout out to Leandro Barbosa, the Brazilian Blur, for now. He's now working with the Warriors, so really cool stuff for him. But yeah, like Mark was saying, like I have no idea what to expect in this series. And Sean, like who, you're right, who guards who? I almost look at it like, because Mark, we talked about this earlier. You can have the best player, you can have the best 2 players, 3 players. What matters is, do you have the best 8 or 9? And once you start getting into the second units, I think that's when it starts to get really interesting. Now, obviously, I think the exception to having the best player doesn't always matter is when your best player is LeBron, right? Then things are a bit different, because then it completely, but you can't count the Nuggets out. They've shown us twice now, no matter. People thought that Utah was inferior going into that series, and the fact that they were even down 3-1 was like, how did this happen? They came back, whatever. They rectified the bad situation they found themselves in. They go down 3-1 to this team, a team that really nobody thought they'd have a chance against. Probably even Nuggets fans. I have no idea. But now it's like, I don't care that it's the Lakers. I really don't care that it's LeBron. Like, they're just rifling through these teams at the end. And Sean, like what you said, like, when they get teams down 3-1, they're like, all right, like we got you right where we want you. And God forbid the Lakers find themselves in that position, because that would be really interesting. That's like, at that point, it's like must see TV.
The one thing I really, really don't want to hear, and I expect to hear it tomorrow in some type of, first take or something like that. I don't want to hear the bubble as an excuse. I don't want to hear the isolation as this is why the Clippers lost. This is why the Nuggets are in. Like, no, there's variance. Like, stuff happens. Teams make it that you don't think are going to happen. I just, I don't want the excuse to be that this is a weird year.
For sure.
I totally agree with you. And like, bring it back to BJ's comment, like, this, whoever wins this, it's going to be incredibly impressive. And that's true. Plus, like, the Clippers don't get a pass. They're in the same situation as everyone else. So they can't be like, well, it affected us. Whereas, like, not every, whatever the challenges have been in the bubble, it's been the same challenge for all those guys.
We like to use that when, like, teams that we don't think should win. Like, that Spurs team in the lockout, we like, oh, like maybe that's why they won. But then the Miami Heat win in the lockout, we just dismiss it. Oh, that was what was supposed to happen. Like,
right.
You gotta give the Nuggets credit. This is awesome.
Especially if a team like Denver or Miami wins, because it's like nobody saw this coming. I think, kind of like what BJ was saying earlier, does it not kind of make it more impressive, at least just a little bit, in its own way, like these unprecedented circumstances? And Sean, when you first brought up the bubble excuse, I made that face. The reason I made it is because I made that same excuse for Milwaukee, while also acknowledging that they were a fundamentally bad basketball team for 5 games. Like, I know why Milwaukee lost, but I also think that, like, if we're playing in Pfizer for them, Milwaukee coasts so heavily off their home crowd. They were unbelievable at home this season. Things go differently, right? Like throughout the playoffs, Orlando doesn't win game 1 in Pfizer. Portland doesn't win game 1 in Staples Center. Like things pan out differently.
Sixers don't get swept, maybe, things happen.
No, but I think they could have, because the Sixers fans could have turned on the Sixers in the second quarter and just booed them off the, you know what I mean? Like it could happen, right? Plausible.
Possible.
Ultimately, you're right. Like maybe it's 5, maybe it's 6, but but ultimately, like the end results probably would have been the same. I think the thing that hurts the most is that Luka's shot was supposed to be at home, and it's like,
that is a shame.
Mark Cuban would have paid any fine thrown his way to just like celebrate in the most obnoxious way possible, and it would have been incredible.
We got to talk about what just happened here. First of all, Jamal Murray was dribbling with the shot clock going down on the right wing, 3 feet behind the 3-point line, throws in a ridiculous shot right in front of the Clippers bench, turned and looked at all of them and gave them a little puff out of the chest. And then Kawhi shoots a 3 that's rejected by like 3 Nuggets. They run down to the other end and dunk it. And now we got a timeout with 2:10 to go, and this thing is over. I'm wondering when we come back here if the Clippers are just have already left the bubble. No, they're still there. Here comes Kawhi back out on the court. But this is, I don't know. You can look at you. This will be a interesting time for the Clippers to figure out what exactly went wrong. Like I'm already coming up with my head. Well, maybe it was just too much to ask Kawhi to, win a championship last year, have the same motivation to come and do it this year. Maybe that's it. But that seems ridiculous.
Moving into the future, isn't Montrezl Harrell a free agent?
Free agent.
Does that team look any different?
What we said earlier was that he's just too much of a key piece for them to move on and not pay him whatever they have to. And if he needs to take a pay cut, because admittedly I don't know what the Clippers' salary situation is looking like, I think he'd be willing to do it in pursuit of a championship. And even here tonight, like I know he's had a rough series. He's had some really, and Mark, we talked about this earlier, he's had some really nice finishes at the rim tonight, and he even just had one on the other end of the floor. I just can't imagine the Clippers moving on from him.
I mean, it's a good piece, but let's be honest. I don't think that is like make or break. They have to have Montrezl Harrell to win.
Yeah.
What they got to figure out is to get Paul George and Kawhi on the same team working together. If they do that, the rest of it will fall together. Guys will be getting so many easy looks at the bucket because there's going to be so much attention on those two. They just sit there, and I don't know. Like, there's a reason at some point when you look at Paul George that he's bounced around the league as much as he has. If you were, and he's had huge games at Indy, he's had huge games in OKC. But I mean, his quote legacy is
a coin toss right now.
Yeah, and it's up in the air. I mean, are you a winning player? Or you're not. Right now, people would say you're not. So
whoever came up with that playoff P name,
it was him.
Really did he? That backfired, didn't it?
Yeah. Like there was the famous press conference moment. Melo and Russ are at the podium. Reporter asks something about playoff P. And they're like, "Who is that?" And they're like, "Paul George." And they laughed. And they're like, "Is that what he's calling himself now?" Gotcha. Like self-anointed nicknames. Nah.
When's the next time after they walk off the court tonight that Kawhi speaks to Paul George?
When's the season start?
Yeah. When's preseason? Yeah.
Early
when's
January.
Training camp? Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna. I mean, man. I mean, well, they were both bad tonight, right? Like, I mean, it was kind of.
They were, everybody. But but Kawhi.
Yeah, this isn't Kawhi's fault.
Yeah. He's got to, and maybe I'm wrong, but he's got to want to. They just took Kawhi out. That'll do it. High five from Sam Cassell. Paul George getting taken out.
Major shout out to Sam Cassell. Love Sam Cassell. Let me ask you guys this. Sean, you're a Sixers fan. Mark, you're just a Bulls guy through and through. Next season rolls around and you receive the Bleacher Report notification. Your favorite team has just signed Carmelo Anthony to a 1-year deal.
Ooh.
What's your reaction?
I want him to stay in Portland. I hope he does.
I agree with that for what it's worth.
My reaction is no.
Yeah, I think mine's gonna be the same, just because our chemistry is pretty terrible as it is, and he's shown that if it's not in the perfect role, that it's gonna go south.
He's almost niche in that way, where it's like, you're right. Like Portland just really works for him. Oklahoma City just didn't work for him. New York did until Phil Jackson was like triangle, and everyone was like, no, we don't have that ball dominant guard and that big center to be able to do that.
Pat Beverly just, I sensed that this was going to happen because Pat Beverly is.
What's a cheap shot?
He cracked Jamal Murray on a backdoor cut. I wish that Jokic wouldn't have thrown the pass. And I mean that was a dirty play. Game's over. He doesn't need to go up there and try to take off his shoulder. And then Pat, I think, got an elbow from Murray coming on down, and Murray's looking at him like he's nuts. And Jamal's fine, but and Pat Beverly deserved that. I love Pat Beverly, by the way. I'm a huge fan. He's got a little bit of the crazy gene that comes out at times when it doesn't need to.
He's got a very strong predilection for stirring things up and wanting to fight people. When I think of Patrick Beverly, maybe this isn't the right thing to think about. I just think of Lonzo coming into the league and Patrick Beverly being like, nah, not today. And then in Lonzo's career opener, I don't know if you guys recall, Patrick Beverly was just all over him and Lonzo was miserable. And I felt bad because I was a big Lonzo guy and I still am. But yeah, Patrick Beverly is he ruins people's joy.
I mean, he had to fight his way into the league, so 100%. I understand where his fight comes from. But I think he just reminds me of that guy that takes the pickup game too hard and just is just grabbing at you.
Air Forces, yeah.
The low tops, exactly. That guy who's undercutting you at the hoop. I mean, it's the perfect example of the guy that you'd want with you, but would absolutely hate to play against.
Absolutely, yeah.
When those kind of guys like him and Morris, who jawing and just getting super physical, it just makes you look so much worse when you lose after you do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we had an exchange of words there at the end, positive ones, I should add. Between Lou Williams and Jamal Murray. So that was kind of cool from one lethal score to another one now. So the Nuggets are in the conference finals. Pretty convenient that we were just talking about Melo for the first time since 2009, which would have obviously been Carmelo Anthony. Yeah. So that's insane. I mean, this is Mark appears to be in just complete disbelief.
I'm just watching all the handshakes going on here and just the look on their face. It's like, I don't know why I feel like I'm an LA Clipper diehard right now, just watching them walk off. But
I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just really shocked by how hard you've been taking this whole game.
I just can't believe, because what it comes down to is I thought the only chance for somebody to beat the Lakers were the Clippers. Maybe I'll be wrong here. Maybe the Nuggets can do it.
I think
so. So now I'm already sitting here all right, I'm in LeBron's got 4 mode and everything's and all the conversation that's gonna come my way with LBJ and Mike. That's why I'm having this reaction as I'm wearing my Jordan 84 jersey. That's my despair right now. But maybe we'll see. Maybe the Nuggets can make this interesting. I have a new respect level for. Because I'll be honest, I'm not spending a lot of time watching Denver Nuggets basketball, so I have not appreciated this team the way I should. So I've been sleeping on the Nuggets, and I'm about to not be sleeping on them here. So
and Mike Malone as a head coach.
Yeah, that was the thing. I'm watching Doc hug Mike Malone just now. I'm like, that's a nice gesture right there, but that guy just outcoached the shit out of you. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Doc could have done better, but it's got to be something. Get some. You can't be losing, bottom line being up 3-1. I think that Jokic and Anthony Davis could be a real problem for Anthony Davis. I think that's the matchup, right? It's got to be the matchup.
I don't know if defensively you're going to put Jokic on AD. I just feel like Jokic is maybe a little bit too slow for that.
So I think luckily, I think the Lakers do like to keep their centers in. Like they do like to play Howard or McGee. I don't think Davis likes to go in at the 5 a lot. So I think you will get lucky.
He has to.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, most of the game, I think you'll get lucky. You'll be able to put Jokic on McGee or Howard.
Yeah.
Rachel Nichols on the court here. All right. Well, hey, listen, we are looking forward to doing some Western Conference, Eastern Conference live stream basketball. So Denver and LA it is, baby. Let's go.
Wild.
And
absolutely
wild game 1 tonight too. Boston and the Heat. That was I don't think anybody saw Miami coming back outside of Miami. Hey, Sean, it was awesome to be with you in the second half, dude.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on, man.
Nick, you're awesome, man.
Thank you. Yeah, you as well. I appreciate you guys having me on again. You better pray that it's not LeBron in the finals because it's going to be a long series you and I doing these casts.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, hey, listen, I will give credit where credit is due.
Gotcha.
And I will look for areas where credit will not be due. But yes, you're right. It's going to be not a long finals. It's like a long life. This is it's going to be some lasting. But hey, thank you all for watching tonight. We really appreciate it. If you subscribe on YouTube, then you will know when we're doing our next live stream. We would love it to have you with us when we do it. So we will, and we definitely will be doing them. I can't tell you exactly when right now, but we will pick out some games. We'll be back at it. So please subscribe, and thank you for watching tonight from all over. Congratulations, by the way, we should be giving to the Denver Nuggets. Phenomenal performance, coming back from 3-1 down twice here in the playoffs. I can already hear the narrative when they're down 3-1 to Lakers. Can they do it again? No, they can't. They're losing 5. But hey,
you can't say that. You gotta believe.
You gotta believe. You gotta believe. Sean, any final thoughts from you?
I'm waiting for the bubble excuse tomorrow. Jamal Murray, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Nick, anything last you want to get out there?
Yeah, Jamal Murray, a guy who I didn't believe in ever and slandered him all the time. I apologize. Tip of the cap. It was good talking to you, Sean, Mark, BJ, and Dylan earlier. Really fun. Yeah. Really good stuff. Looking forward to the next one.
Richard, Hunter, thank you all. Ashley, thanks for all the support tonight. Yep. Josh Wilson as well. Hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, my apologies. Thank you again for watching. Congrats to the Nuggets. 104-89. They're into the Western Conference Finals. We'll see you next time.